should be live. I think we're live. Let me double check. We're live. We're going to be making beats, mixing beats in FL Studio. I downloaded a bunch of my plugins for mixing, so we will be mixing today. If you're new here, let me turn this down. If you're new here, I go step by step in my trainings. Actually, let me start my introduction. If you don't know me, I'm Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. We train over 1 million producers around the world. So we're going to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, French Montana, Young Thug, Lil Baby, Polo G, Trippie Redd, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and a long list of other folks that I constantly keep forgetting about. Did I say NBA Young Boy? I don't know if I said that or not. Anyhow, we're going to get into it today. We're going to make beats in FL Studio 2024. We're going to be mixing beats. We're going to be, it's kind of going with the flow. So you guys are going to learn step-by-step processes. I will explain as much as I can. I won't jump over too much stuff, except for stuff that just takes 5 hours to explain. Like, unless something takes a long time, sometimes I have to kind of summarize it. But I have all these courses at busyworksbeats.com that, you know, guide you guys step by step so that you're not missing all the small information that I can't cover during the lives. All right. We got Reyes here. We got Johnny Boy. We got Nicholas Warner in here. We got Toby in here. DT is back. I'm just happy that this PC laptop actually works. Like, you guys have no idea. It was booting up, but then it was like stuck in boot mode. So it was just, you know, the logo was just going around in a circle, and it just kept doing it, kept doing it, and kept doing it. And I was like, darn, I want to make videos, but I can't. So I'm excited that this computer works. So needless to say, let's get straight into it. Let me open up FL 2024. Let's say my hellos real quick. What up, the DNA Lo-Fi? Let me create a folder real quick. We're gonna save this and get straight into the sauce. Oh, no, I forgot hard drive. Hold up.
60,000 soldiers. Now there ain't but 20,000 police in the whole town.
All right, we had to plug up the hard drive. We got Rudy Warface here. What up? Neil is in the building. It's funny getting used to like PC workflow versus Mac. I don't see my hard drive. Where's it? Here it is. Give me a sec, y'all. I gotta save the project. So one tip for you guys who are beginners, you get super organized about your sessions. Like, I label mine by the year, the month, and then the date, so that in the future when I have to reference stuff, it's not just like a bunch of jumbled up mess. Very important. Organization will determine how far you go. It may seem boring now, but in the future it will pay off 1,000-fold. All right, so I'm saving this live stream, beat one. All right, let's switch screens so you don't have to look at my shiny forehead. You guys should be able to see all this. We got Neil in here, Rudy's here. Thank you, Rudy. It says, yo, game, man, you always throwing gems. Large up always. FL Maestro Sensei, thank you. Toby's here, new here, wants to start making music, just got to get a new laptop. That's a, you know, we'll pray for your funds that you can get that laptop. I know how it feels to like make that financial decision to get a laptop. So I know how it feels. Rocky says, salute Busy Works Beats. Thank you, Rocky. Been a follower since 2012. Let's get it. You want to do lo-fi stuff? What do you guys want to do today? Just give me a genre and let's kind of flow with it. I'll go based on what you guys are into. Now, again, I have limited sounds, so I can't act like I could do every single genre, especially guitar-based stuff. Are these my only drum kits? D-Funk is here, what up? I really need to up my drum kits on this computer. Drum kits are so important. Blake is here. Want to do lo-fi? Do I have Labs on here? There's a plugin called Labs. They have a preset called Soft Piano. It's very good. I don't think I have Labs on this computer though. I definitely don't have Soft Piano. I know that for sure. Do a Cardi beat. I think I just crashed FL. Oh, I have Labs. Oh, I do have Soft Piano. Okay, that's random. Okay, I take everything I said back. Let's do lo-fi and then I'll introduce you guys to Cardi's sound. Let me turn this off real quick. use the Legacy drum kit, the Legacy for lo-fi. You guys want a sucky beat, I guess. I'll give you all the project files we make today as well. So keep in mind that anything I build, you guys will get for free. Do you recommend FL Keys? Or you mean the plugin? I thought you meant the controller for a second. I like FL Keys for the dance piano preset. That's for like West Coast type stuff though. So I wouldn't use it for anything else, but like if you go to presets, dance piano, play really low octaves. This is that Memphis sound that you guys. Like you hear that 1,000 times. That's the sound, it's dance piano. Every time I begin to talk, I sound so nasally. It bothers me sometimes. But yeah, Lab Soft Piano is good for lo-fi. Let's do a couple lo-fi jazz things and then we'll move into like Playboi Carti stuff. So we're gonna talk music theory and ease for a second. So don't freak out. Elila's back, what's up? Lab in St. Denis. What up, Somali? All right, so here's how it goes. With most lo-fi, you're using 9th chords or 11th chords or some version of that. People keep telling me about Heat Up 3, but I don't use it. It's very expensive from what I remember though. But to each his own. All right, so we're gonna use what are called 9th chords. Let's change our staff to grid to 1/2 beat. If you guys don't know, we're gonna go over the basics of music theory and then we're just gonna go. So let me make sure we have an audience before I just pour my soul out for nobody. All right, we need 30 people to like the like button. If y'all could smash that like button, that will give me the energy we need to push this message out into the ether. Usually I start live streaming when we have 50 people, but we have enough. All right, so in music theory, we started what's called the root note or the tonic. I'll speed through this because I know people are like, oh my God, here we go again with the theory. But if you don't understand theory, you're not gonna understand what you're doing. So it's like, you gotta learn theory. Okay, so here we have C, and we're gonna start using C and all the white notes, starting from C. So it's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then it repeats. The reason we do this is because we need to understand what are called scale degrees. Scale degrees is when we select one of these notes and we give it a name. So for example, this is the first note of the scale. This is the first scale degree. The second note of the scale is the second scale degree. The third note of the scale is the third scale degree. The fourth note of the scale is the fourth scale degree. The fifth note, sixth note, seventh note, and then it repeats back to what's called the tonic or the first scale degree. In jazz, especially with like lo-fi and more like the jazz that really goes out that way towards like really creative jazz, they use something called a dominant to tonic resolution. So the first is called the tonic, the second, third, fourth, and then we have what's called the fifth or the dominant chord. You want to do Afrobeat? I would need a guitar for that one. That's Detroit beat style as well. Oh, you're talking about the piano? So here's the fifth of the scale. As long as your fifth resolves down to the tonic of whatever key, it doesn't have to be C major. That's what creates the jazz sound. So to build chords using scale degrees, what we do is we pick a note in a scale and then we skip every other note in the scale, okay? So if I'm starting at C, we skip D, go to E, skip F, go to G, skip A, go to B. That creates what's called a seventh chord. Now what happens if we just keep going? We go C, skip D, go to E, F, skip F, go to G, skip A, go to B, skip C, go to D. This creates a ninth chord because why? First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. That's where they get the name from, the ninth chord. You know, 10th, 11th, on and on and on. So what we are going to do is use what's called a chord extension up into the ninth or the 11th. So usually the easy way to count it is a 5-note chord is usually a ninth and a 4-note chord is usually a 7th chord. That's a rough generalization. I'm just giving you guys like a template. So here's what it sounds like with the soft piano. Let me turn the metronome off. I recommend when you guys are using ninth chords, you keep it in like the C4 octave. It's very soft and lush. Okay, so we're using that philosophy as to where ninth chords come from. Now we're gonna move into more of advanced topics, and I'm gonna speed through this because we don't have enough time to go through my whole music theory course. If you guys want more detail, go to busyworksbeats.com/. Music Theory Magic. That's the course that will guide you through all these advanced topics in a more simple way. Right now, I just don't have enough time. So go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory magic, because now what we're going to do is create chords starting from the 2nd scale degree. We're going to move up to the 5th scale degree and then back to the tonic. I wish I had a picture to show you guys on my PC. I forgot to download it. I'll show you from my phone here. There is a chart, let me find it here, that guides us through. Here it is right here. Let me make sure y'all can see this. Hold up. All right, so here's the chart. Hold on. Okay, so screenshot this when you guys can. You don't have to copy the verse, of course, in the outro part, but this is just showing us the different motions within music theory. Basically, in short, what they do in jazz is they always resolve the 5th back to the tonic. You can go from the tonic anywhere, and you kind of round your way back to the 5th and then back to the tonic. It's this loop. Oh, excuse me, okay? So that's how it works. So let's move into application and show you guys how this actually sounds. Now I'm gonna, this is where I'm gonna speed through because we just don't have enough time. We're gonna insert a D minor 9th chord here. And you guys who watch me a lot have seen this before, but this will get you out of the box where you feel stuck all the time in music. So this is the 2nd. Now we're gonna move to what's called the dominant 9th chord. It's not a major or a minor, it's both. It's also a diminished chord. And then we're gonna move to the major 9th chord, major 9th, here we go. So this is called a 2-5-1. And when I say 2-5-1, we're actually referring to the scale degrees 2nd, 5th, and 1st. People get lazy though, and they say 2-5-1. So let me show you guys some advanced techniques. And I know I'm moving quick here, but I have to. Is if we take what's called the 5th of a chord, the 5th is 7 notes up from the tonic note. So this is the tonic or root note of this chord, and count up 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We get D. We're gonna take that 5th and take the 5th of a 5th, which is the 9th, which is 7 more notes up, and we're gonna hit shift up. So we're gonna transpose these up 1. This is called creating an altered chord. We're sharpening the 5th and the 9th. Okay, this is gonna create the R&B sound. Okay, now what we're gonna do, I know I'm speaking Chinese to people who are beginners here, but I have to. What we're gonna do now is insert what's called the relative minor. So for those who don't understand, major scales have a relative minor scale, meaning they're both interchangeable. Let me take a swig of juice real quick. So what we're gonna do here is use what's called the secondary dominant. So instead of using the dominant chord of the 1st scale, the C major scale, we're gonna use the dominant chord of the 2nd scale that we're moving into. So for a long time I didn't understand this, but this is the key to moving into any chord. It's called key modulation, okay? The easiest way to do it is go to your landing chord, which is the relative minor, in this case A minor. I'll show you guys how to get that in a second. Count up 7 notes from that root note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you get E. You place your dominant chord there that we just did, and you can raise the 5th and 9th. Okay, so that's the magic. It's called dominant to tonic, and then also secondary dominance. I teach this in my Music Theory Magic course, again at busyworksbeats.com/music theory magic. Now, from this point, I need to show you guys how do we get the minor scale from the major scale. So again, every major scale has an equal and opposite minor scale. The way we calculate that is we map out our major scale. In this case, we're writing in C major. Okay, so C major, all the white notes starting from C. To move to our relative minor, the only thing we have to do is understand that major means, I'll say happy. It's more to it than that, but we'll say happy or upward, and think of minor as sadness or downness. So if I want to move from my major scale, my upness, to my sadness, I need to go down. Okay, so we're going to go down 3 notes. We're going to take this root note and go down 3 notes, 1, 2, 3. And then now we can start our minor scale starting from this point, and that's our relative minor. It doesn't matter where we are. It depends on the the major scale or the minor scale. Now, how do we think of it the opposite way? Let's say we're in A natural minor of a scale, and we want to move up to the equivalent major scale. We take the minor root note and we count up 3 because we're going back up to happiness. Just count up 3 notes. 1, 2, 3. That's your new root note, and then make your major scale from that point. That's how you get, every scale basically has 2 scales in one. And the C major scale is all the white notes starting from A. The A natural minor scale is all the white notes starting from A. If I said that right, I might have said that backwards. C major scale is all the white notes starting from C. And then the A natural minor scale is all the white notes starting from A. Okay, so they're basically the same exact thing, just starting from different points. And so what you do to trick the ear is use stuff like deceptive cadence, which I teach in my music theory magic course, stuff like secondary dominant, stuff like dominant to tonic relationships. And you could also do cool stuff like this, which is called a tritone substitution. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pulling down that dominant chord. And this gives you more of that jazzy lo-fi type sound. Let me see if I have any ambient textures in here. I don't think I do. Now we could also change the key. What I would recommend to you guys is if you have a key that you're familiar with, right in that key, you could always transpose it. So let's hit shift down for a different vibe, a more jazzy vibe. Just think of your chords as like, do I want higher frequencies or do I want lower frequencies? That's an easier way to judge what you want to do with your chords. Let's try the tritone substitution over here. It won't have as much of an impact. We're gonna have to revoice this. See, I went, it didn't sound right. So what we're gonna do here is called revoice. We need to make this voicing smoother. So what I like to do is pick the highest point and determine which direction are we going with the chord. Do I have a free boom bap drum kit? I do. I just emailed that out to everybody. So if you're on my email list, you already got it, but go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. When you sign up with your email, I also ask for mobile because we want to make sure you guys are like actual real people that aren't just putting in junk emails. So when you put in your real email, at busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio, then you're going to get a welcoming email that says like, hey, here are your downloads. Click into the downloads, then go to sounds, then go to drum kits, then go to the boom bap drum kit. Okay, so right here we need to fix, it's not that we need to change the chord, we need to revoice this. Now this is also going to be important for when we talk about Playboy Cardi beats. Dan Tana in the building, what up? Thank you for hopping in. We need to revoice these. So a quick way to do this is simply pulling the top notes down an octave, or determine what note you want to be at the top, and then make sure that no other notes go above that point. Now we're in really low octaves. Another thing is if we keep pulling everything lower, it's going to sound more muddy. So if my ear is this A sharp sounds off. Now what we could do too is pull up notes. So we don't always have to pull notes down. We could also pull notes upward. So let's try that so that it's more linear of a direction instead of all over the place. Again, there's 1,000 ways to revoice chords, but chord voicing is the magic to like jazz and lo-fi. Man, I can't read. Let's start that over. John Gonzalez, welcome. So that's the key to the music theory of it. Now let's move way faster and get into some higher level stuff. So I recommend the Kilohertz bundle. If you guys haven't downloaded it, you got to download it. This is called the Kilohertz Bit Crush. It's completely free for now. I'm pretty sure they're going to keep it free for a lifetime, but you never know. So you could right click here and change out the sample rate. Let's knock this down to 12,000 hertz. It's going to give us that ring sound. You could also turn up DAC, which is the quality of downsampling, so you don't get that ring noise. So what we're doing in theory is lowering the amount of high frequencies. If I turn this down, you guys will hear. This is what they mean by lo-fi, low fidelity. Let's go down. Because we're using such low frequencies, they're not being chopped off by the sample rate, so it's still audible. And now we get that super lo-fi Drake underwater sound. So I like to mess with anything from about 20 kilohertz. You know, you guys can kind of set your own sample rate. Another thing to mess with is the bit rate. This will add noise the lower you go. So we can right click to make this 12. And my favorite is Fruity Delay 3. People sleep on this because they don't really understand it does way more than delay. Turn the dry level down, turn the feedback level down, turn delay time down. And then everything else becomes an effect. So we're going to turn up time modulation. This is going to create that RC20 wobble. It even has a bit reducer if you guys want to use that for more noise. Some people think people are adding noise in the background. It's the bit reduction of the sound. We can also mess with delay time and do all this like modulation. Another thing we could do is Fruity Stereo Enhancer to widen it out if you guys want that like super Dilla type widening. Then we're gonna widen it, use that phase invert to pull back some of the signal. Rari Rail, what up? Let's make an EP. I wish I had the time. Making music is a luxury, honestly. With a family and running a business, making music has become the hardest thing to do. So at this point, we can add more reverb and delay to like really lo-fi it out, but that's your lo-fi for you. Now you said use the vintage drums. Let's use some vintage drums that I have on my extra hard drive. So again, if we're going lo-fi, we need to have a low fidelity. What is low fidelity? A lower quality image. What is a lower quality image? A lower sample rate, a lower bit rate. So that's what lo-fi technically is. And getting that sound has become free. So now we're gonna use sounds that were developed running through drum machines of that era to where they're not super high quality and trap drum level quality. So again, at this point, you're just gonna go through run through your favorite drums. I'm not gonna bore you guys to tears with stupid drums, but we'll use the Roland TR-808 drum kit. And you guys will get these project files for free. So I'm gonna make it more like 80s swing, like do 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 do. So it's all about tresillo, which is dum dum dum. Okay, so we could do, when it comes to genre, okay, Afrobeat, drill, trap, mob music. Most music uses tresillo, which is ta, 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 ta. It's just spread out in different patterns. So we're gonna do kick, kick, conga, like that. Slow, whatever, Overlord. I'm just showing somebody how to do lo-fi. I'm not gonna sit here and make a whole lo-fi beat. That will bore me to tears, honestly. But you guys will get the project files for free. So again, tresillo, I'm gonna show you guys something. Once you have tresillo locked in like this, if you want to experiment, hit Control Shift, use your arrows on the keyboard, and you can move around that sequence just to see if you discover a new bounce. Like that was a pretty cool bounce. What up, King Darkness? I use Valhalla. That's a cool, nice. So that's a bounce I wouldn't normally do. So it's all about tresillo and understanding that. I am not going to bore y'all because it's boring me to listen to a soft piano that's soft. But that's your lo-fi in a nutshell. And then from there, you could run it through, like if you guys have different drums. Actually, that's more boom bap. Let's move into a different genre. What genre do you guys want to move into next? Overlord is a freaking Monster in the chat. His beat making process needs to be documented. What's up, Patrick? A lab St. Denis, or a lab in St. Denis. Where's that at? It would be dope to see you mix someone's beat on live. They would have to send me all the stems though. That's the only thing. Do you guys want to do it? Who has stems? Usually when they do this, they don't send me the stems. It's already mixed. They don't know how to turn off the effects. If you guys are going to send me your beat, let's do it on Discord. And let's figure out what channel we're going to use here. Hold up. I just want to see if people actually have stems ready. But what was I going to say? If we are going to do this, you guys got to make sure that all your effects are turned off for the most part, unless it builds the sound. Like, unless that sound actually needs whatever it is, make sure you turn off all the effects, because that's going to mess up the mixing process. Flipper says jerk music, some boom bap, glitch chop, pop drill. We always ask the question, like, what do you guys want to make? And then everybody gives me a different answer. I did say I was going to do Playboy Cardi. I forgot. So let's do that real quick. And then we'll come to one of these genres. Playboy Cardi, for those who don't know, let's load up like FL. Do I have Slayer? Oh, it works on PC. Okay, let's go. Let's do none under mode. Let's take off any extra kind of sauce that they throw in here. And I think, I don't know what all this other stuff does. Let's turn off the drive. And I really don't want a cabinet. How do we turn that off? I don't know what these knobs are. Okay, these random knobs there. You should make a Travis beat. Yeah, they asked for Playboy Cardi. I forgot, I promise. Okay, dope. Let's do it in the, let me see. What channel are you gonna put it in? Actually, if you could put it in like one of the loop sections, like trap loops. Actually, I'll look up your name. What am I saying? Just remind me, because I want to mix your stuff. That'd be crazy. All right, so here, let's do Playboy Cardi. So on my Mac, FL Slayer does not work. So if you're on Mac, just keep in mind, FL Slayer does not work. It's not built for Mac. Let's load this up. Now, I don't have all my mixing plugins, Overlord. I'm just letting you know. I have some. I had to download a bunch of plugins before going live today. My Waves plugins don't work, so we're going to see what we could do. All right, so when it comes to Playboy Cardi, it's pretty simple. Playboy Cardi uses what's called quintal harmony. Yeet uses what's called quartal harmony. So if you guys don't know what that is, it goes back to what I was talking about before. Whenever you have a root note, let's just say C, you can count up 7 notes. This is called the perfect fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, when you stack a perfect fifth up an octave and down an octave, this is called quintal harmony. Let's go up an octave. And all we need to do is just transpose this. So we're copying it, just moving the notes around. And make sure that top note is the right one. And then we repeat it. So that's called quintal harmony. Now for a yeet type melody, we're gonna do quartal harmony. Quartal harmony is using perfect fifths. I said that backwards, perfect fourths. My brain just defaulted to fifth. Let's re-say that. So again, Playboy Cardi sound, that rage sound, is quintal harmony, is where we stack up perfect fifths. Yeet sound is when it's called quartal harmony, which is a jazz technique where we stack up perfect fourths. And a perfect fourth is 5 semitones up from the root note. So it's 0, which is C is our root note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could do that for all these notes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're just going to copy that top note down an octave to make what's called a power chord. So that's the difference between Yeet and Playboy Cardi, is that quartal versus quintal harmony. Now, I don't have Neuro DSP plugins on here, but the best guitar amp that I found is called Neuro DSP Gojira. Very good. I don't think, let me think for a second. Do I even have amp sims on here? Do I have a guitar rig? I do have Guitar Rig 5. Hopefully I do have it on here. Wow, this is small. Okay. Let's see. I gotta squint to see. Let's do components. Let's do some amplifiers, and let's do this one. So when it comes to rock, different levels give you different harmonics. The harder the amp, the more harmonics you get, the more noisy the sound becomes. If you have a softer amp that doesn't drive the signal very heavily, you're gonna get you're gonna hear the notes more clearly, but it's not gonna sound aggressive. I don't know if my Waves plugins work on this computer. I tried pulling up some Wave stuff, it wouldn't open up. So I'm using the Native Instruments Guitar Rig 5 for this. Thanks for the help, man. I'm trying to blow up my music career. Shout out to Tom. Now for that wide sound, you want to use a widener. You guys could use Ozone stuff. I think they have a free imager plugin that they still give out. Does it say no? I swear I already authorized all this stuff. Anyhow, we're gonna go to where it says Stereorize. Click that button. Put it on mode 2. I was told that mode 2 is a lot higher than mode 1 as far as the quality. And where is it at? Why is this not doing it? Oh, I guess I gotta pull it up. Okay, then hit mode 2. And now we have that width that we know about in rock music. Now also in rock they use what are called octavers. So if I go up an octave, this may or may not sound good because we're playing multiple notes, but you could also add a component called an octave pedal. So let's go to pitch octaver. And I think we replaced something here. I don't know what I just did. I'm gonna just, I don't know what I just did. I think I deleted one of the components. So let's do octaver. It really only works with one note at a time, so that's why I didn't use it. But that's a plugin that you guys can mess with. And let's pull up that amp that we had. That's really the whole sound. And the lower you go, the more gritty it gets. That's it. So you could swap that sound out for anything, really. It could be a synth, like a synth you might use for more modern Playboi Carti stuff is a synth called Morphine in FL Studio. All right, so we're gonna use this one. Let's swap it out for like a keyboard sound here. So Crystal EPs. And I'll show you guys a new technique. I know I'm moving kind of quick and then we'll like make a real beat. We're gonna change this to quintal harmony. Remember, it's 7 semitones up from the root note. What up, Sosa? Now I learned this from Synthet. If you double click a note, you could swap out what's called the color of the note. This is really the MIDI channel for the note. So if I switch all these MIDI channels to 9, I can pitch bend independently from the rest of the notes. I just want to say thank you, bro. You've been making tutorials for so dang long. You really the GOAT. Thank you. I'm gonna screenshot that. Thank you. It will be on Instagram one of these days. You will see your name on Instagram. Thank you. All right, so what we're gonna do though is, now that we have this separate MIDI channel, this only works for image line plugins, by the way. We're gonna add another note, double click, and make this a slide note. Again, I learned this from Synthet. I'll show you guys what it sounds like to the extreme. So only the pink note will slide up. It won't slide the entire chord. And that's important because if I make this a regular chord note, and I make everything the same color, it will slide all of the notes up to that point. So it goes, like the whole chord does that instead of just one note. So we want to separate the notes that we want to slide out using what are called MIDI channels, or changing the MIDI color in this case. So they have to be the same exact color. Thank you, Vigo. So here's my cheat sheet as to where I slide the notes. I either slide up 7 semitones, which is a fifth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, or I slide down 7 semitones, or down 5 semitones, or down 7 even. because that's a tonic, that's a dominant to tonic resolution that I talked about earlier. Okay, so if you want weirder sounds, Toxic Biohazard is a great plugin for like, where's mine at? Toxic Biohazard. This is a super dope plugin, very slept on. Now this has a lot of lows, so I would just cut out those lows. Let's use Fab Filter. Where is it at? Fab Filter Pro Q3. Let's double click. Let's use a high pass filter just to cut out the lows. It's way too much frequency in here. And then we would just layer. So, I mean, you guys have seen it, but let's add, oh, I think my FL froze. Hold up. What just happened? Okay. Okay, so let's copy this over. And also we can add stutters using Grosbeat. If you guys don't have the glitch plugin, you could use Grosbeat. So let's mess with Grosbeat as well. I'm gonna move like kind of quicker here because now we're into production talk. Let's add Grosbeat. And let's put it on the, I think they have a category called stutter. Let's try some of these. I wish the stutters were more like basic. I don't know who made these stutters. They're just kind of crazy. But let's try some of these. So let's say you like this stutter, but you don't like the ding, 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 ding. You could turn down the volume, which means it won't affect the volume. So this is a little bit better. Now let's layer this with the synth. I'm gonna show you guys some secret synths that I love. So Saw is a really good Benny X type sound. So if you click here, let's go to leads, go to the first preset, just play a really low octave. People sleep on this sound so much, including myself. So we're gonna copy those chords, hit Control C, Control V. We're gonna cut out all of the top notes except for that bottom note. And we're gonna turn this up. Now, if you don't want any effects, you could go to the front panel of Saw, click the image line and turn off these effects. So I like to add more bounce, so let's make this unique and just add a little bounce at the end with the bass so that it's not just super repetitive. It's like down, down. Now, how do I know where to go? 5 notes down or 7 notes down? Actually, we're gonna go 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 sounds better, actually. I stand corrected. So that tonic, or excuse me, the dominant to tonic resolution right here. I also like to mess with the velocity. Okay, so now I'm just adding little jump notes. So now we just add our drums, and then I like to leave the high frequency stuff, like the ear tickling stuff, for the end, because I want to lock in my rhythm. I want to lock in. Think about the human body when you guys are building your beats. Let's see how many folks we got in here. We got 40 folks. I need y'all to smash that like button, get this party bigger. When you're building your beats, think about the human body. The human body, I studied biology in university. There was a class called Human Development. And what you learn right away is that the human body begins by forming the backbone first, or the spine first. The brain isn't even formed first. It's the spine first, and then everything else. So the thing with you guys is making beats, we need to think about the same thing. This is the spine, or the backbone of the beat, the idea, the canvas. Then we're gonna build the brain of the beat. Then we're gonna build the arms and everything else. So that we're thinking in layers as opposed to trying to get everything right away. Be the coolest, what up? From is that Kenya or Nigeria? Shout out to you. Let's add some drums in here real quick. Now, because we already have the bass, that is our quote-unquote 808. We don't need to like try to layer more layers of bass. For the piano roll, what do you suppose to set it on? 1/4 or something different? I set mine at 1/2 beat because I don't want to get too microscopic all the time. Only when I specifically need to go lower, I'll lower it to 1/4, but it's rare. I keep mine on 1/2 beat because it's just easier to look at, in my opinion. Everybody's different though. Let's add some drums in here and then we'll move to the next genre. Hopefully Overlord got his stems ready, because I'll mix. Now, I love FL's new feature in FL Studio 2024. The graph editor now has a repeat mode, which adds note repeats right into the graph editor. Makes it super easy to make hi-hat rolls. So now on the master, what I would do for more crunch is add Fruity Wave Shaper. Click the cog icon, pull your mix level to about 50%. Thanks, Kill Red. Turn up your preamp. Let's go to oversample mode, put this on 4x, and then make this more of a concave curvature. It's just gonna make your beat stand out. Also, the Fruity Soft Clipper will make sure that we're not clipping. So we're just gonna put this on hard clip mode. You guys gotta try soft clip mode, which is to the left. It makes it more compressed though. So let's say you want to change up your drums over time. What we can do is hit Shift. This is a new shortcut. I think it's Shift V, left click, drag, and then let go. It just created a new pattern with the same drum. So it clones the drums into a different pattern, which means you can make small changes basically. So now we can make little changes. Shift V, left click, drag. So now we need that like lead ear catchy thing. I don't have my MIDI controller with me, so we're gonna have to do this on the keyboard. Shift V, left click. Make sure you let go of the left click for it to duplicate. And I really can't think of another drum pattern. So I like a bounce like that. I really like Thracio bounces. Oh yeah, FL 2024 at first, I was like not liking it, but now I like the workflow. They did make it better for hip hop folks. At this point, I would just level it because everything's trying to be loud. So I'm gonna turn everything down and start to prioritize sounds. Like what really needs to be loud? Kick, snare. I would even say the hi-hat for this genre. There you go, James. James got a key. And now we're just gonna move to the high frequency stuff. I drink a lot of water, so I might have to get up at some point here. We're gonna go to something like Sakura. It could be any synth. I'm just picking Sakura. Let's go to, we need some kind of string sound. To Control L. And we're gonna use a lot of effects here. So because I kept it simple, I think we use, what is this, Playboy Cardi? So we did quintal harmony. So let's just use fifths for the melody. We're not gonna make it complex. I think C was our starting note. Well, I forgot the notes we used. I think it's D actually. G sharp. I would have never guessed G sharp. All right, so now we know the starting note. We're gonna go to that starting note. And I like to go up an octave, but because I'm about to add a bunch of plugins to the sound, I don't want to overly do it. So we're gonna go to G sharp, count up 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then count up 7 from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we can go down to G. We can go really anywhere. That might not fit actually. Let's do. Why does it sound different? I know I'm not crazy. Oh, why'd I say G sharp? I was looking at the wrong section. It's G. Okay, I knew I was off. The beat watery. So is my bladder, so I might have to take a bathroom break in a second. So we have G going up 7. And here, let me just show you guys. With melody, if you guys struggle with melody, whatever note you're at, you basically have a range of notes that always work. It's the perfect fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a sharp fourth, and then it's a perfect fifth, and a sharp fifth. And then also a sharp, whatever you started on, sharp there. So a lot of these notes will work. Okay, so that's the way I'm thinking is, let me actually copy this over. So now using these as like a template, we're gonna just pick random notes. I can't hear the sound. Yeah, so I'm just gonna be basic and just repeat this. Copy it over. Now if you want changes, like at the ends you want something to change, you use a half step down and then move into the tonic. And then you could do a half step up. So there's many ways to do it. What up, Bako? Thanks for helping the whole community. Thank you for even hopping in. Just getting started. I'm trying to help as many folks as I can. So I need y'all to smash that like button so that we can get this growing. Show YouTube some positive signals. Next thing we're gonna do though is take this simple melody and we're gonna start adding some free plugins to it before I have to run to the restroom here. Let's add kilohertz pitch shifter. We're gonna pull this up 12 semitones an octave. And if we want more kind of grit, we can add kilohertz reverser. This is again a free plugin. We could also mess with their delay plugins if you guys want. Now let's hear this in context of everything else. And now we can hit Control up. Now there's a new tool in FL Studio 2024. If you hit Alt P, or if you go to the tools, generate chord progression, it will create chords around your melody that you just created. So let me turn off some of these effects real quick. So if we hit Alt P, it will wrap chords around the melody. Now these will not match the other chords because it's not reading from the other chords. This is kilohertz essentials, kilohertz essentials, something like that. I'll link it real quick. It looks like this, kilohertz essentials. So the website has like a heart, a K, and then I'll just link it in the chat real quick. There you go. All right, so now it's wrapping it around. Let's go back. And what we can do though is go to performance mode, switch this to ARP, up. We could also move the octave if it's too low. Regenerate. I think there's something in here that's, let me see. Now let's say we had no chords. This is clashing with our chord structure, but let's say you started with that. Let me just turn off. You can run it through the pitch shifter that we had, the reverser. This isn't the greatest example. There's too many notes going on. Let's just blend this into our track. We're doing too much. RD is here. How do I sidechain an 808 to the melody for the melody to duck when the 808 hits? Let's see what I could do here. You have to find your 808 in the mixer. And let's say, I'll just call my kick the 808 for now. And you want the melody to duck. So let's say we want the Sakura to go down. Go to Sakura, go to your whatever your melody is, add Fruity Limiter. And it took me a long time to understand this. So if you don't get it right away, it took me a while, you know, when I first learned this. Go to compressor mode. We're gonna find our kick in the mixer or your 808, whatever. Just right click the up arrow and side chain to this track, to whatever your melody track is. Now that you have that, go back to Fruity Limiter, go to compressor mode, right click and select your kick as the input. So now you have your kick tied to the compressor. Lower your threshold, turn your ratio all the way up and mess with your attack and release. So now every time the kick hits, it will lower this sound here. You're probably gonna have to watch that back a couple times. It took me a long time to really get that down. Wingman says try EQing the lows, highs works. What up the MacGuffin files? So let's say your melody like needs something and you can't figure out what it was. It is sometimes the melody just needs to move faster or slower. So right now this melody is too slow. We can hit Control A, Alt, left click these little double arrows and bring it in. Just make sure it's half the speed, half the length, and then duplicate that over. So now the melody's moving faster. Now I would not recommend this with the reverser turned on. The bounce is a little whatever, but I'd probably just swap out the sound, honestly. But we could be here all day on the exact formula. Just trying to quickly show you guys how to build beats and move on to the next thing. Build the backbone, move on to the next thing. You don't need to build a whole body every single beat. Doxo Thor, what up? Would you be able to resize your face cam? I think it's a little too big, is it? Dang. Wow, it is huge. What the freak? I apologize. I did not know it was that big. That's crazy. I do that for beat battles and I forget to turn it off. My fault. Did you discover a lot of knowledge through experimentation or others? You got to remember, I was really the only person doing these tutorials like to this degree back in the day. So everything was an experiment for me, but it's a lot easier to learn from somebody else and then help somebody else with what you learn. It's a lot easier to go that way than trying to figure everything else by yourself. But you do discover a lot when you do stuff by yourself. All right, so I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. I'll be right back, and I want you guys to tell me what we're creating next. You said boom bap. Also, Overlord, I don't know if you're still here, Overlord, but let me know if you uploaded the stems, and I'll check the channel. What advice would you give to someone that is just starting out mixing beats? Well, if you're just mixing, this is about, I don't know if Overlord sent the stems, but if so, then I'll show you the tips then. Let me just mute my mic and turn my cam off just temporarily. Be back in a second. Hold up.
Fuck them niggas. Fuck them niggas.
Best. See, I'm the best, man. I did it.
Back in business, back in business. Okay. Thank you guys for being patient. Thing is, you want me to show you how to mix? I need something to mix. And let me find something on this computer. I just haven't made beats on this computer in like forever, so I don't know what is on here, what's not on here. Yo, game, can we still submit for what? Submit what? Talking about the mixing thing? All right, so here's what Overlord brought up. He said, what if we mixed some of you guys' beats? So if you do have the stems, here's the rules. Make sure that if you guys are sending your multi-tracks, that one, you give me the key and the tempo, but also two, make sure that, like, if I have a vocal on my beat for some reason and I have a bunch of reverb or delay, make sure I turn that off unless it specifically needs to be on that sound. Like, if you have a kick that has a bunch of stuff on it and you want me to mix a kick that already has a bunch of stuff on it, it's going to be impossible. So you need to take off all the plugins. Okay, so you can render without the master plugins and render without the insert effects, but only for stuff that doesn't need it, if that makes sense. You ever work with bigger artists? I have a lot of folks I've trained who work with the artist. I don't work with artists directly. It's just a time waster for me. Me specifically. So what we're going to do is, if you go to our Discord, discord.gg/busyworksbeats, in the top left, click here where it says busyworksbeats, go to where it says show all channels. On the left side, you'll see all these channels on the left side activated. Let's try putting the stems on the trap loops, maybe. I think this is probably the easiest place to put it. 1027. So if you guys do have a beat you want mixed, even if it's a 2-track, I'll show you guys how to quickly mix a 2-track, but 2-track doesn't give you everything you need to mix a beat. You really need the separate sounds for a lot of different reasons. Doxathor, did you ever work? Oh yeah, to answer your question, I work with brands. So I've worked with the $4 billion brands. Avid, which makes Pro Tools. Sweetwater, if you guys know, they're an online retailer for music. I work with the Near Protocol and Web3 for like tech stuff in the music industry. And also, I always missed, and Razor Music. So if you know Metro Boomin, Murder Beats, Sunny Digital, Anderson .Paak, we worked alongside of those guys. And I think it was also Deadmau5 on there too. I was part of the campaign for 3 years. So in my brain, I am the artist, I am the producer. I'm not like trying to find somebody else to make them famous. I'm like, why don't we make ourselves the person that works with all that? That's how I think. I'm different though. All right, so I'll let you guys vote. You want to do mixing? Let's take a poll. Let's do a quick poll. Mixing or beat making or other. It could be, what else is there? Business, I guess, or something else. We'll just say other. All right, I'll let you guys vote in 2 seconds. Hold on. Do you have more multi-tracks for? The only ones I found online were Michael Jackson's. I don't know why, but it's like the world's greatest multi-tracks ever. But then nobody else. It's so weird. So yeah, only Michael Jackson right now. There is another website called Cambridge. I'll link it right now, as a matter of fact. If you guys go to Cambridge, I forget what it's called, multi-tracks. This is a nice repository for these. This one's cool, but it just has a lot of just random songs on here. That's why I didn't really like plug it that way. I'll put it in here though, because that does need to be on the list somewhere. So let's do multi-tracks. And let's do Cambridge multi-tracks. Boom. Link it. Boom, boom, boom. I forgot to mark it, darn it. How do you go back and add? I still need to learn how to use Discord. Edit tags. Okay, not royalty free. There you go. So Cambridge has a ton. I'll just say multi-genre. And also Telefunken does, but I don't feel like sitting here and making another post though. Telefunken is another company that offered, but it's more live music. So if you want to mix live stuff, Telefunken has a bunch of multi-tracks. What up, Maui? Murder Beats from my hometown. He's from Niagara Falls, Canada, I think. Big congrats on that. Also, endless producers who learned through you. Yeah, it's a ton of producers who just learned, who applied it, and they're working with the top people in the world. Mixing. All right, you want to go over mixing? All right, dope. So, we need somebody's beat that we can mix, though. That's the thing. So, all right. So, Teddy Tunes, if you have the multi-tracks for this, I can mix it. But until then, I can't show you much. Actually, let me show you guys different things. Let's say you get the beat and it's just the 2-track. I'll show you guys how to beef up a 2-track real quick. Fort Erie. See, I didn't know there's like a difference there. Hold on, y'all. Let me switch screens real quick. Hold up, wait. All right, we're about to get into mixing. So if you just hopped in and you have no idea what I'm talking about or doing, we're about to get into mixing. A 2-track first, and then we'll get into multi-track mixing. So let's see her. Okay, got it. Got it, good. All right, so this is how to mix a 2-track. So let's say you're in a session with an artist or your own session or whatever. You get a beat off of YouTube and it's just not hitting. I'll show you how to make the beat hit pretty simply. First thing we need to identify is how hard is the beat. Zaytoven. This ain't a Zaytoven beat. Why you put Zaytoven's tag on this beat? That's wild. I don't think Zaytoven would approve. First thing we need to do though is get the levels right. So we need to get the gain structured right. So we're gonna turn up the volume and see what that does outside of anything else. Just turn up the volume. So I'm just seeing, am I peaking or am I not peaking? So I like the sounds in the beat. They're very like spaced out, but the thing is, let me describe it as I hear it. Hold on. Every time the kick hits, it feels the same volume as that bass. So we want a little more dynamic in this track. Firstly, what I'm gonna do is pull up a parametric equalizer. Where's it at here? Pro Q3. Let's just look at the frequency distribution. Also, a lot of people don't know in the bottom right here where the analyzer is, we have a collision mode. If you turn this on, areas where you have more dense frequencies are going to be marked in red. So we can see down here is a lot of energy, and we can shave this off just even if it's 0.5 dB. We don't have to do this. Let's do 0.5. And I need the actual stems because the instruments aren't matching how loud that bass is. So the bass is just randomly loud. So what we could do in this case is tilt the energy. So I'm going to add a node here where I know the difference between the bass and the higher frequencies is right about here. Because most instruments, they have their fundamental frequency at around 200 to 400 hertz. That's usually where most instruments in your beat have a fundamental where it all clashes at that point. So that's usually the tilting point from bass to everything else. We're going to switch this mode to tilt, a flat tilt, and then slowly pull up this gain so that we're pulling up those higher frequencies. I think I hit the dynamic mode by accident. Let's do that again. So I'm turning the bass down on purpose and turning the instruments up because I don't have the instruments. We can always pull back the bass. This man just hit a snare out of nowhere. That's so random. And now we're going to double click and add, my favorite is 60 hertz or 75 hertz. Let's just boost up at 60. So now we're redistributing the bass energy like the way we want. So now I'm going to boost at 60 hertz. So here's a quick before. Listen how muddy it sounds. Here's after, sounds way louder. Now we still have to do stuff to it, so we're not done. But the first step is redistributing the energy of the actual beat. And once you understand this concept in production, this will translate for you guys as well. So the next thing I would recommend doing in this case is taking off and shaving off those high end points. Is that volume increasing the notch? Wait, let me read that right. Is that volume increasing notch on the playlist FL24? No, this is called FabFilter. Oh, you talking about this thing? The clip gain? Yes. You could turn up clip. It's called clip gain. You could turn it up and down. So yes, that does come with FL Studio 21.3 and above, I believe. So here's FabFilter, a different plugin. This does not come with FL. I just want to be clear. So now we need to tame. Every time that snare came in, it clipped. So we want to make sure we're not clipping. So here's where we're going to use clippers and compression to make sure that it captures the peaks of any stuff kind of trying to fly over the peak. I like the plugin called Standard Clip. I believe I activated this. Yeah, I did. Okay. So this is going to catch any peaks that are going beyond 0. I'm going to set it to -2. Okay. So you see it got rid of that volume that went too high. He sent a loop. Who did? Who sent the loop? Oh, the FLP. I can't load up your FLP if I don't have the same plugins as you, so that's not going to work. You got to do the multi-tracks. If you don't know how to do the multi-tracks, no worries. It's just, I have videos on it, but it's too much to explain right now. Basically, never mind. It's too much. Let me show you guys anyway. I feel like I have to. So to stem out your multi-tracks, you have to make sure everything's in the mixer. So go to your channel rack, switch to all, double click everything. Make sure you hit either Control L or just make sure that you hit Alt M to hide or reveal the number right here. Make sure every sound has a number to it, okay, and that it's in the mixer. It has to be in the mixer to get the multi-tracks, or else it won't work. Okay, so from here, you go to File, Export, Wave File, and you can pick any folder on your computer. Let's just say desktop for now. Name your track. It's called track. Hit Save, and on the next screen, you'll have options here. So you want to go down to the bottom where it says Miscellaneous. Turn on where it says Split Mixer Tracks. If you don't have that turned on, this won't work. So split mixer tracks. Another thing you want to do is, like I said before, if you don't have an effect on a sound that it specifically needs, turn off where it says enable insert effects. Go to where it says mode, full song. We're going to cut remainder. We don't need the remainder. And you guys can do wave 16-bit stereo and just hit render, and it will separate every sound in your song to wherever you saved it to. And that's called multi-tracks. Those are very different than sending FLPs. So now we need to pull up the low energy as well as capture the snare to make sure we're not clipping. So far, we just have an EQ and a clipper. So here's before. Yeah, this tilting energy thing, you'll get it over time, but yeah, most of the time you have to tilt the energy of your track. Let's turn the snare and clap up. Here's after. All we did was just add an EQ. Let me play that again. Here's before. We're hitting at -3. Here's after. Still hitting at -3. But it sounds way louder, okay? And it also sounds cleaner because of everything I showed you guys. Okay, so there's that. And now we need to figure out the dynamic of this track. So right now the track is just flatline. Everything is just the same volume. Everything does the same thing. So let's add a compressor here. I swore I activated all this crap. I'm pretty sure I did. This is annoying. Actually, hold on guys. I gotta find my license code for this plugin. This is annoying. I have to do this for every plugin. Goodness. Okay, let's go to fabfilter.com. This is what I did before the live stream. I had to do all this for like 1,000 plugins. Okay, so proceed to view license key, copy, enter license key, paste. Okay, why do I have to do that for every plugin? Companies, just get rid of license keys. They are so frustrating. Who the freak needs a license key? All right, now I got my thing. Cool. All right, we're switching screens. Give me a sec. Okay, so now we have Pro C2. We're going to turn up what's called the look ahead. This is going to give the computer time to actually see the signal. We're going to get a much clearer definition of what a compressor is doing if we turn up the look ahead. So I want it to basically turn down the volume every time the kick hits and then release the volume. So turn it down, release by the time the snare comes in. So right now I'm just gonna have it on a fast release and we're gonna mess with the attack time. So I'm gonna pull up the attack time to allow more of that kick to come through. So let me find where the kicks are. And to be more simple about this, let us solo the low frequencies. I'm trying to think what plugin would I use to solo the lows. I think FL Studio has a plugin called Frequency Splitter, so that we don't have to listen to the entire track the entire way through. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll turn off the mids and highs. So all we hear is the lows right now. And we're listening to the curvature of the low. So the faster I have the attack, the less curvature we're gonna have. Also, let me up the range here. So right now the compressor is working too hard. Let's start pulling up the attack on the compressor. So we're gonna let that kick come through and then it pulls down the volume. So keep in mind, 14 milliseconds is like no time at all. So you guys can push this even up to 70 milliseconds sometimes. So even though the knob is going further to the right, it doesn't mean that the actual sound itself is very long. 70 milliseconds is like very, very, very small. So now every time that kick hits, it lowers the volume of the entire track. This is gonna create a little more movement in your track instead of keeping it so like stagnant. You gotta just go into your mix and turn that snare down. Somebody use loops. They're probably just learning production. You know, it's just like a sample to them. Most of my beginner beats were sample beats until I like sat down to learn. So to them, you know, it's like sampling, basically. So here's before compression. And now we're gonna mess with the release time. This is how long it takes for the compressor to turn down the volume and turn it back up. Let me give you guys a more visual way to understand this. Let's load this up into Edison real quick. Actually, I don't need to do all this. Let's just double click the audio, right click, edit in audio editor. So if you guys look in the top right here, we can right click to select minute, second, millisecond. We want that on because now we're gonna measure what's called milliseconds. So if you zoom all the way in and then you have, let's snap to grid, to zero crossings here, zoom in, turn off this little arrow to make it stop going left and right. You don't use iZotope anymore because now I see you use FabFilter. Yeah, well, one is that the head of FabFilter is like a dope person, so I just support him. But also the iZotope stuff, the iZotope Ozone 11 is really laggy on my computer on the Mac. I don't know if it's the same thing on PC, but the visuals tend to glitch out my computer too much on the Ozone 11. I don't know what they did to make the visuals so glitchy, but I do love the sound though. It's the best sound that I've gotten, but I think what it is, it's so good that it's almost boring with Ozone stuff. Like it's so good, it does exactly what they say it does, and I can't. My creative brain needs to make sucky stuff better. So like when something's already perfect, it's like, darn, there's nothing for me to do here. It's almost like AI loops. So I think part of it is just the idea that it does such a good job that what else can we even do? It's like that. How close is compression to side chaining? How close? I think initially sidechaining was invented for live broadcast. So if I was a radio host and I needed to talk into the mic, and then the mic, you know, I couldn't compete with the singers on the song. So I think they figured out a way where they could send a duplicate of the signal from the microphone over to the compressor as an input, as well as the music. And basically every time this microphone triggered, it would trigger the compressor to turn down the volume. So that, I think that's where it initially started. I might be wrong about that, but it started with compression is my answer. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so anyhow, I was trying to explain here the actual distance. So this is a kick and a hi-hat. Now, most of us would think that was what, 500 milliseconds, but if we actually look, I was actually pretty right. That's about 450 milliseconds. Now, if I go down to the kick level, just that, the kick is only 286 milliseconds. You guys might not be able to see it, but in the top right of Edison, you can see a value. It says 286. Okay, so the entire kick itself is 286. Now let's look at the pointy part of the kick. Let's make this even smaller. The pointy part of the pointy part of this specific kick is 67 milliseconds. So that's how long a millisecond is. Like that. That's 67 milliseconds. And so I think when we deal with compression, we think 60 milliseconds is a lot bigger than what it is. So what I'm telling you guys is now we can have the compressor wait 67 milliseconds to then turn the volume down of everything else before the snare. So let's see how much time we have here. So from kick to snare, we have 500 milliseconds to work with. So we need to calculate the attack time plus the release time and keep that within about 500 milliseconds, okay? Which should be pretty easy with this. We could also set the input here so that it only looks for certain frequencies. I believe we could set a low pass filter so it only looks for that kick and it doesn't look at all the other music. That way the compressor only works when the kick actually hits, so that we don't have to trigger it by accident with other stuff. So let's also point out some of the things about his track. Let's add another EQ here. Fab filter, where you at? Fab filter, Pro Q3. You said, can I put it in 32-bit? What is that? What is it? Not sure what you mean by it. Why do so many people... Yeah, this is not a Zaytoven beat. It's somebody who made a Zaytoven type beat. Yeah, it's Lyle said it right. So good it's not unique. That's the reason why I was okay with giving away my analog gear. It did sound better, but it was so perfect. I never had to turn anything. So it's like everything came out the same because I never needed to do anything with anything. It was always set the same way every single time. It just got boring. But it was very good stuff. She shells millisecond shells by the sea. I know I really need to work on my speech. The problem that I have is I don't finish my words because I have like 1,000 words to say in 5 seconds and I don't finish the ends of the words. Very bad habit in the hip hop community. If you notice, in hip hop we never say the ends of words. I was stunting, you fronting, you don't want nothing. We always like never end the words. 24082, is it just me or the AI mastering plugin is not working on FL? I think they had an outage. Microsoft, I think it's called CrowdForce, went down. They had a glitch. It affected banks. It affected air of travel. So Microsoft products went down behind the scenes. It basically was like a mini crash in America. And I think they might be using Microsoft stuff. I don't know what they use for their cloud service. I'm not sure. So that probably affected it. What up, Kunai? GRMG, what up? CrowdStrike, yeah. People were talking about the CrowdStrike stock, and then people were talking about Microsoft stock. So I would love to see how this reflects in the stock market. Zaytoven sent me a loop for the contest. Okay, dope. See, I didn't know he had contests going. So let's continue the mixing here. The multi-track. Oh, 32-bit multi-track. Only unless they did it 32-bit. You can't upsample. Like you can't go from 16-bit to 32. I don't know I might have missed your question though. I probably missed your question, and that's my fault. Oh, just the ones using CrowdStrike. Okay, so it's CrowdStrike. Because Earn Your Leisure, that's all they talk about is CrowdStrike. It was at Troy, constantly talks about CrowdStrike. And now we see what happened to CrowdStrike. So, is this considered mastering? Not really. We're just trying to fix his mix. Mastering to me would be when we try to get it loud. What up, Sonny Crockett? Okay, so now what we're gonna do with this EQ is, this track feels small. Part of that is because I think, so let's pull this mono. If you guys don't have these buttons, click here where it says view extra volume and stereo properties buttons in your mixer. Make sure your mixer is big enough, and then you can mess with this button. So we're gonna pull it merged or mono. So you hear a lot of the stuff in the beat. Let's make it normal. So the only thing that's like wide is the chorus. Most his synths are mono. So I wish I had the stems to like re-pan his stuff. But basically this track needs more width. FL Cloud is down as well as mobile. Dang. Let's add the Pro Q3. So we don't need Imager plugins all the time. We could switch this to what's called the side mode. You just need a mid-side EQ. We're gonna boost up the side information. So I'm gonna solo this. Side information is the difference between your left and your right ear. Mid information is when you have the same exact information in the left and the right ear. It centers into what we call the middle. So side information is the difference in pitch, volume, timing between our left and our right ear. So what we can do to make this wide is boost up the low mids, or any section really, and boost it up on the side. This is a technique I copied from the SSL Fusion, which is a mastering unit. Do you schedule for streaming? No, I didn't know my computer was going to turn on today, so I didn't plan this. I just went live. I talked about it earlier, but we do go live. We try to go live Mondays at 3 p.m. for our beat battle. 3 p.m. Eastern time, I should say, for our beat battle. Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern time for our song feedback. That's a different stream. So this stream is just not scheduled though. But I'll most likely be streaming at night because I got to put my son to sleep before I stream most of the time. Did FL get rid of the 4 sends inside the mixer? They probably got rid of the default 4 sends, but you could do that. You could just highlight any tracks you want. Like right here, any tracks, say you want 4, you could right click, move to right. Actually, I think it's dock to right. Yeah, I'm right. Dock to right. So I think, let me undo that for you. Any 4 mixer channels, you can highlight, hit control, right click, go to dock to right. And now you have those tracks to the right. Now to send stuff over there, you would click on this track and left click to send it over at the bottom. So that's how you would send the signal over to those tracks. I probably need to bring that back. I need that workflow. It's pretty dope work. Okay, so anyhow, I've been talking so much. So we're making the track wider. Watching from Kenya. Wow. So let's say we want to open up the top frequencies wider. We could boost the sides up wide. Or if you want your track to be a little more warm, they call it, we can boost up the sides at about 200 to 400 hertz. It creates a warmth and a dimension to your track. Okay, so here's before, just to remind people where we started. Here's after. That snare, I would have to individually turn that snare down. This is too loud. So at this point, we're thinking, how do we make it louder without making it too loud to the point where you can't add any vocals to it? So this is where I would consider it mastering. I just had to balance out the track a little bit better. I'm going to use an Imager plugin though, because we're going to get better results here. And also I would ask myself, do I need more harmonic content? Oh my goodness, this isotope stuff. Phew. So I would say it needs a little more low end. So I'm going to move really quickly because most people don't have the plugins I'm about to show you guys. The next plugin we're going to use is called Spectre. Oh my freaking goodness. Hold up, y'all. To download it, I needed my license key. Now it's asking me for my license key again to load it up. Why? Jeez Louise. Hold up, y'all. I just got to log in. This is frustrating. Audio companies, if you watch these streams, stop using freaking license keys. You're not saving money. You're wasting money because customers are tired of it. Hold up, y'all. Is there a button that can get the stems from that track? What track? Yeah, you could, but I wouldn't mix stems out. I wouldn't mix with stems. That seems backwards to me. Because stems are not high quality. So you're going to get a really weird final product. Hold up, y'all. I got to put in my serial number and my username. Then we'll do Q&A next because I feel like I'm losing folks on this example here. This is not my beat. This is a beat from our Discord. Okay, hold up. But we're showing you how to mix. Okay, let's swap back. Boom. All right, boom. Okay, so now we're on the master here. We're going to boost up the low frequencies. We need to create harmonic content. So Spectre boosts the harmonic content of a sound. It's easier, in my opinion, to boost the lows when it comes to harmonics because it creates higher frequencies from that harmonic. MMB says, hey, Busy, how do I get the stem extractor download on FL? It keeps it saying it needs to be downloaded. I don't know how to get to the download tab. But that happened to me before with the declipper function. So what I would say, if you don't have it, if you click in the top left, go to extract stems from sample and it says download first, a panel should pop up to the right side. I don't know how to get to that panel though, being honest with you. Oh, you know what? Here it is. If you go to view and then go to where it says news and notifications, go to downloads. Here's that panel. Okay, so go to view, downloads. Here's the panel. And whatever it's doing should be showing up over here. So if it's downloading, it will show up, a progress bar will show up right here. I didn't even know how to get to that until today. So glad you asked. I don't know how to X out of it though. I guess you just click out of it. Yeah, I can mix another beat. I just want to make sure I'm giving people value. Are stock FL Widener plugins any good? Not the way you think. Not the way I'm using it. iZotope is a free one called Imager. It's better. Just look up Imager. It's a free plugin. I don't have a lot of plugins and I'm not looking forward to installing them on a new PC. Yeah, I have like, what, 2,000 plugins here? And this is just one computer. My other computer has like 2,500. Is there a difference between stems and a multi-track? Stems are groups of things. So stems would be like your drums, your vocals, your bass, your instruments. Multi-tracks is when you separate every single sound. Your flute, clarinet, snare drum, kick drum, hi-hat, everything's separated. Stems is when you group it together. So here's before. Here's after. So now we need to pull back some of the low end. So let's start boosting around 60 hertz. And we can switch out different types of saturation. So I like the tube mode and the warm mode. It's gonna bring back to life that low end. What other parts of the beat would you look for harmonics? If the low end was kind of suffering, I would boost there first because again, the low end is gonna multiply itself up into the higher frequencies. That's what harmonics are, just multiples of a frequency. So if the bass is at 60 hertz and I'm adding harmonics at 60, that would be 60 times 2, 60 times 3, 60 times 4, 60 times 5. So I'm really boosting 60, 120, 180, 240. Am I doing the math right? Yeah, 300, 360. So we're adding more frequencies if I boost up the lows. Only if I needed a vocal to have like higher end saturation would I use harmonics in the vocals, the high end, because most of the time the highs don't need to be filled in. It's more the lows and mids. It's just my synopsis. Thank you, MMB. How you say your name? Biondeist? Biondeist. What up? Sear Smashes here. So if I wanted loudness for this beat, I would make harmonics around about 500 hertz to 5 kilohertz, which is where our ear is most sensitive. What's the difference between using the separation dial in the mixer? What's the difference between using the separation dial in the mixer versus using a Widener plugin? The separation dial? Oh, right here. Versus using a Widener plugin. They all have different ways they create perceived width. Some use phase inversion, some use delay, some use... It's pretty much it. You know, it's different algorithms of how they create the illusion of the psychoacoustic called stereo width. But there's definitely a difference under the hood. I'm not a scientist, so I couldn't give you the math on that, but there's a very big difference. Like some, if you widen it, it'll start panning to the left. You know, those are bad stereo wideners, in my opinion. Whereas other stereo wideners, when you make it wide, everything still feels where it is, but it feels wider. So that's like a general difference. So from here, I would load up something like Michelangelo. We're gonna reshape this tone and redo some of the, oh my freaking F. Sorry, y'all. If I run into another plugin that I have to activate, I'm gonna scream. Let me find my login here. The sucky part of having two computers. Oh my goodness. Wes says, will you slide around a resonant? Let me read this slowly. Will you slide around a resonant point with that? I want to hear what's the sound. What? I want to hear what that sounds like. Are you asking me to do that? Give me a second here. That really, I mean, the reason people did that is they wanted to find out where the resonant points were to see where the frequencies were building up. So that was before we had visual EQs like Pro Q3. They would do stuff like that to find out where the energy is building up too much. Nowadays we use more visual cues, I would recommend, but to each his own. Hold up, yo. This better work. Goodness gracious. Okay, another plugin we have to activate. Jeez. G's and rice. Okay, so now we're gonna use this to reshape the tone. You could hit shift left click to pull up the aggression here. Basically adding more harmonic content. Let's mess with the mids. I like the mids boost here, and we can mess with the lower frequencies. So I'm exaggerating just so I can. We could also select which stereo image we want to boost. So I like to put it on the body mode. The image is getting a little dark because I'm adding too much low. Also, I turned down the output, turn it back up. So you can hear now we have too much low end going in. So we're gonna start cutting back the low end now that we're adding all this other processing. And again, for those who just hopped in, we're mixing somebody else's beat. This is not my beat. Okay, so just want to make that very, 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 very clear. So here is before. Here's after. There's still some heavy pressure around like the high mids because we boosted kind of heavy. Also, the kick is super loud. You can if you want, but this is not my beat though. Caden is here. What up? Thank you. Zavala here. What's the difference? Okay, So I'll move on to the next. Okay. So if you want your beat mixed, put it in the Discord. And put it under the trap loops. If you're in our Discord, click on the top left where it says BusyWorks Beats. Go to where it says Show All Channels. And on the left side, go to where it says Loops. Look for where it says Trap Loops. And then we're going to grab your beat from here. So from this point, I would really need to sit here and shave down a lot of tones. We just don't have like 1,000 hours of time here. So let's do FabFilter Pro MB. Let's find out where the buildup's happening. Really, it's that kick that just kills this whole beat. Use it, you could, but it's not my beat though. So let me show you guys. This is getting so in the weeds. I'm realizing the kick, the reason it sounds too overbearing is because it has too many frequencies. So we can go in and start to try to isolate those frequencies in the middle and then cut them out. So the kick, the majority of it lives at 72 hertz, and then we're gonna have multiples of 72. Okay, so we're gonna, this range somewhere around here has too much energy, so we're gonna cut this out. Another way to kind of tame this is a standard clip, or you could use FabFilter. Where is it at? FabFilter Saturn 2. And put it on high quality mode. Add modulation, envelope generator. Grab this, pull it to the mix level. Pull your mix to 0, turn your modulation up to 100%, and then basically turn your threshold up. So every time that kick hits, we could saturate it so that it kind of opens up more harmonics to mask the fact that it's just overbearing, honestly. But see, we're squeezing the life out of the track at this point to shape the tone. So that's the trade-off at this point. So here's before. But that's why we need to learn in mixing to balance our sounds before we go into mastering, because then we have to do trade-offs like this. And also the side feels weird, so let's figure out why. We're gonna put this on side mode, figure out why the sides feel so lopsided. So sometimes sounds are too wide. We're gonna compress the side image to pull it more center. So we're taking out some of the width to make it more focused in the center. All right, so that Michelangelo is strangling the sound. So I'm taking it off. So here's before. Here's after. There's still some kind of blurriness around like 200 to 400. We don't have time to go into the nuances here. At this point, I would just add a limiter. My favorite though is Ozone 11 Maximizer. It's just the cleanest. I keep forgetting I need to turn this stuff on, y'all. But since I can't log in, we're gonna use Waves. Actually, I can't even use that one. Let's use my Weiss stuff. Now, normally I would use the, please, software update. Oh my freaking F. It's so frustrating. Now again, I wouldn't use this specific limiter because it's not, I don't feel like I can control it the same way. So many beats as I've been on a hiatus from beat making engineering, and now it seems I got my listeners' ear back. Now when I listen to music, I'm not analyzing every frequency. I just enjoy music for what it is. There you go. Jay Jiving says, fire information, you need an old Atlanta based drum break on here. Yeah, I'm gonna move to the next track. This track is like, I don't know how mixing engineers do it. Again, this is not the limiter I would go for. I would usually use like an L2, or actually I have Fat Filter. Duh. Here we go. I'll use this instead. So at this point, we're just trying to turn it up to 0, basically. What up, Basil? It's a little crunchy with that piano, though. So again, it's little details where I wouldn't like say this is a great mix. But let's just do a quick before and after, and we'll move to the next concept in mixing. Here's before. Okay, so that's before, here's after. There's like a, wherever that is, it needs to be compressed because it's super piercing. So we need to figure out where that is in the mix. Let's figure out where that is. Where is Fab Filter Pro Q3? Again, the cheat code is use the analyzer collision mode. It just makes it so much easier. So let's see if we can find it. Hear that crunch of that piano? It's clipping, so that could just be in the sample itself. Yeah, right here is where the energy buildup is. I don't like that, so let's cut this back at least 3 dB. There's too much going on right there. Yeah, it gets very piercing. I would even put this at 6 dB for certain levels. Let's go to auto mode and make sure this. So it took away most of that sound. That was like terrible. I'm gonna make it wider even. So here's before. Hear that ding, 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 and it just screeches your ear. Now with the EQ on, with that dynamic push on, I'm being hard with this, but it was just so piercing that I want it turned way down. And now we can hear the ding, ding, ding without it hurting our ears. Again, here's before the mix. And here's after. And that's on a 2-track. Now again, the kick is way too aggressive. The snare is way too aggressive. So we would have to like really dig deeper with the multi-tracks on that. Am I entertaining y'all? Oops, didn't mean to show my whole license agreement. My emails, whoops. There we go. So we have 13.9 folks in here. Want to make sure everybody is entertained. I see what you mean though, but at first I listened, I was just vibing. Boom bap lo-fi. Do you guys have a boom bap lo-fi beat? We could put the multi-tracks in the, hold up y'all. I'll show you guys in our Discord, just give me a second. Are we in Google Chrome? How do you get, dang, PC is so different than Mac. Trying to find like, where's the toolbar? Give me a second, y'all. Hold up. Wait. Darn. Where'd I put it? What do you guys think? Sounds good? Does anybody have a boom bap beat you want to turn lo-fi? Entertained and taking notes? Do you mix beats every Friday? No, this is just a like impromptu live stream. This isn't something I do every Friday. What up? Kind of been enjoying the call. Okay, cool. Give me a second, y'all. Google Chrome is very different on PC though. Let me. Charles Von Music, what up? All right, that's fine. Fine with me. All right, let's get back to the game. I had to make sure freaking my NDA stuff was not exposed on the thing. All right, nothing secret was exposed with these companies. All right, we're good. Okay, Charles Vaughn. What up? Okay, so I'm looking like Teddy Tunes and Joey sent me an MP3. I can't mix MP3s, it's too much. So you sent me the stems and not the multi-tracks. I need the multi-tracks, not the stems. Man, y'all need to look up a tutorial on multi-tracks first before you send in, because these aren't multi-tracks. Oh, he separated it. Wow. That means I gotta chop it myself. Man, I need to make a video on how to make multi-tracks. I didn't realize it was that foreign of a concept. El Hijo, what up? Hey yo, what up, my G? Was looking for some inspiration, came across you. Thank you, Daniel. So I wanted to mix beats, but nothing. Hold up. I'm trying to mix you guys' beats here. You got to give me something good to mix, though, y'all. Also, if you send the multi-tracks, try to zip them up so I don't have to go through manually, download one by one. That would help. Oh yeah, we're staying hydrated, healthy, and happy. I can't drink too much water because we're live streaming, so I can't constantly get up and run to the bathroom. Let me try to find my own project because y'all are, you know, I appreciate y'all submitting, but it's not the right stuff I would need to show you how to mix. So let's do whatever this is. Patito Azul. Small blue, is that what that means? Okay, that was a house beat. We can't really mix that too much. This is the point where you guys go get your snacks. I think this one has a lot of instrumentation, I'm pretty sure. Any chance you could show how to do multi-tracks? I could, but it's taking too long to receive stuff. It's kind of effing up the flow. I'm gonna use my own track here. So let's switch up the drums here. I remember I did these drums. So what I just did here, Alt F creates a snare flam, so it sounds like that. Linkin Park type beat. Any chance you can show how to do multi? It requires a 5 to 10 minute video, and I don't want to get too off track, y'all. I'm being honest with you. Now, when you have good sounds, you don't really need to mix much. Like this beat doesn't need mixing. It needs a vocal on it, and it needs the vocal mixed with the beat. It doesn't really need much mixing though. So I think what I did on this track was added like an MPC boom bap type vibe. What we could do is load up kilohertz bit crush. We could right click the sample rate. MPCs back in the day would have, MPC 60s would have a 40 kilohertz sample rate and a 12-bit rate. So that's the MPC 60 sound. Turn up the quality to get rid of the ringing sound. So we still need, now that sounds good. We could leave it like that. But we could also add more saturation to the sound. And this is optional, but actually let's hear it normal before I do all this. Now the drums are a little repetitive because I just looped the drums. Now notice this channel itself is clipping, but on the master track, we're not clipping. Because on the master track, I have a FabFilter Saturn 2, basically within envelope. If you click the plus icon, go to new envelope generator. You could drag this little blue thing over to the mix level, turn the mix level down to 0. Click on the blue thing, turn this up to 100. So basically every time something goes above a threshold, it turns on the saturator. And I set the threshold. So now every time that kick goes past that threshold, it adds this saturation crunch to it, which lowers the transient energy that we have because now it's shaving off those peaks. I know it's advanced what I've done. Live from the East Coast, or love from the East Coast. When you say multi-track, do you mean stems? No, that's different. I think I have a video called, type up multi-tracks, BusyWorks beats. I'm pretty sure I have a video about that. So let's see what would happen if I didn't allow myself to clip on that channel. So most people's drums just sound weak because they're not allowing themselves to clip on the individual mixer channel, but make sure that you're not clipping on the other channel, the master channel in this case. We're using saturation to prevent that clipping. Very weak drums, and then we can reset them. Now the drums are coming out the speaker simply from just turning them up into a saturator. Next plugin you guys want to look at is called Gold Clip. What does it say? Your software? No. This better load up. Bruh. iLok is effing up so many plugin companies. Look at this. Look at it. Somebody look at this. It won't even load. Bro. Rule number 1, don't get. Goodness gracious. NYC in the house. Would you be able to unzip a 7-zip file? You need the 7-zip app to unzip 7-zip files. Oh, you're asking me. My bad. I realized what you meant. I thought you were asking a question. My fault. Do I have 7-zip on here? I think I do. Pretty sure. Let me see. 7. Yeah, I do. But you know, in 7-zip, you could zip it up as a regular zip. You don't have to use 7-zip. Add a vocal chop. You said, I don't know how. I've been making beats for years, but don't know most of this. Well, most people, what tricks us is that when we get good enough, that's the enemy of great. And what I mean by good enough is that in music production, we'll learn all these techniques to get the result that we're trying to get right away. What up, Shine X? I just saw your name up there. Bazil is here. Teddy's here. What up? And the problem is we get good enough to get the results we want, and then we stop. And then we keep getting that same result because that's all we really need at that specific time. But now when it's time to expand and go into new ideas, because our only tool set is the tool set to get me to result number 1, excuse me, I don't have the tool set to get the result number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And so we realize very quickly we don't know much of anything. We only optimize for one outcome. But learning more, you know, the stuff at busyworksbeats.com, you guys can even hop in for free. When you learn more, you realize I didn't have not enough tools because I was optimizing for one outcome. And now that I want to expand my outcomes, I need more tools. So I basically give you the tools, the skills to get different outcomes. And you learn very quickly what you don't know when you step into a new desired outcome. So that's how I think of it. So here's the track. Hopefully they save my changes. So here the sizzle and the sound. So we're gonna downsample this drum, emulating the MPC 60 here. We're gonna go to kilohertz bit crush. Right click the sample, go to 40,000 hertz, and then go to 12-bit. Right click 12-bit. MPC 60s had a 40,000 hertz sample rate and a 12-bit rate, so we're gonna use that. Tashar is here. Please make a video on how to add a plugin or VST. I did actually. So you got to check my recent videos. I did that for PC and Mac. I looked up your multi-tracks video. I did. Okay. And the first thing you say is multi-tracks is, and stems with this. I said they're probably used. Well, I meant to say they're probably used interchangeably. So that's the tricky part, is that language versus like technicality. But yeah, stems and multi-tracks technically have a difference. So I apologize on that. Yo, brother, I want to know, how do I make experimental beats like JPEG Mafia? I've been producing for 6 to 7 months. You want to do a JPEG Mafia beat next? He likes to sample a lot, really, and just use sidechain. That's his thing. So that's how you can push your drums harder. Again, this beat doesn't really need mixing. It's already, my ears made it good to begin with. I want to know, what advice would you give to a, let me make sure I could even see the screen. I'm gonna do Q&A real quick because I feel like I'm just talking to a screen. So let me engage with y'all real fast. Thank you to the 50 folks in here. Appreciate y'all being here. So, produced by Baco, put $1.99 in. Thank you. Thanks again for all the sauce. Firstly, thank you for even being here. I do these for y'all, but I know I sound raspy. It's just something about my voice. I probably need to drink more tea. I don't know why I sound so raspy all the time. Mazo's here. How to make hippopotamuses beats. I've never heard of him or her before. FL Studio Beginner, how to export tracks from 2 years ago. Okay, I probably need to make a new one then. But that one should be accurate 2 years ago. What advice would you give to a producer trying to get into sync licensing for TV, film, and ads and video games? What is it? Any libraries I should check out? I have a conversation I had with, his name is Clint Music. I had multiple conversations with Clint Music and the other dude, I forgot his name, but it was Clint Music had the best conversation about sync licensing. But just keep in mind, that game is basically, what is your relationship to the person who owns the library? That's basically it. It's almost like, how do I explain this? If you had a race and you had a Ferrari versus a Lamborghini versus a Honda versus a Toyota, like chances are the Ferrari and the Lamborghini are gonna beat you in the race. Chances are. So you want to make sure that if you are putting your energy into the race, you want to jump into the Lamborghini and Ferrari of the race, not the Toyotas and the Hondas. Okay. And that's the whole game, is like, which vehicle do you hop into, but also how much, how do I explain this? What is the probability that somebody will find your stuff? How much catalog does that library have? So now the cool part about Film and Sync is that they like to break new artists through Film and Sync. So that's an advantage for newer artists. But to get into that world, understand you're either going to submit where 1,000 other people are submitting, which means now you're just white noise. And you have to build that relationship up with the person who owns the library regardless. Or you have to kind of do it out the mud, which is, I think Clint Music teaches both ways. I'm not sure exactly his total approach, but Clint Music is the guy to go to about that. But you got to remember, if I'm a business running an advertisement, I'm not going to waste more money on a beat. Like, ads aren't necessarily huge marketing move or huge money makers, because the goal of an ad is to make money off the ad. If I put all this money into an ad and it loses money, you're not getting any more money. So you need to, so ads aren't always going to be a break. Just keep that in mind. But if you want to get into that world of TV, film, and sync, it's not only film libraries, it's also record labels. If you guys watch Love Island, you'll know that the music that gets on Love Island is music that was run through a label and music that is already like a song. Then it gets picked up by Love Island because they have business interests. Like, I can't really explain the whole business, and forgive me for like cutting it short. I just don't want to make this a 7,000 hour conversation. If I'm a if I'm a TV show, like a Love Island, for example, and I needed music, I would go, okay, instead of me trying to chase down individual people from around the world who would make it difficult to sign off on contracts, do it on time for my TV production, I'm just going to go to a company that already has all the music. That could be a film library, sync library, or it could be the record label itself. Now, depending on the budget of this TV show, I can say, okay, my budget is $5 million to develop, Love Island. So if you have that huge budget, then you would go to the record label to cut that deal, because you have the money to go directly to directly to the record label. Whereas if you didn't have that huge budget, you might go to like a lesser marketplace, like what do you call it? A sync library. Okay, now sync libraries are not the Katy Perrys of the world. They're not the Will Smiths of the world. They're not the, I can't think of artists for some reason. They're not the Post Malones of the world. They're everybody else. Okay, so you're paying a lesser fee, but you're willing to work with people who are lesser than the celebrity. But the problem with that is, how do they choose the record from the entire platform? Okay, so that's another issue. But that's like, I don't want to discourage you. The answer is, look at my interview with Clint Music is the answer. You'll learn a lot more about how film and sync works. But I did learn from a music supervisor directly. He said the reason they try to chase new artists for sync and film, is because they want to break the artist on the film project so that when the artist grows, the film grows, and they could tie themselves to a celebrity, basically. There's certain movies that just broke certain artists and producers, same thing. So that's what in film gives us hope as smaller artists, is that they want to break you. That's the difference. They want you to become famous because it will help the film longevity. All right, I got a lot to read here. Hold up. Yo, Brett, I want to know how to... Okay, I answered that one. Ayush says, more specifically, songs like from albums scaring JPEG, using the most random samples. First month using FL Studio. Should I focus on learning the technicality of FL Studio or the music of beats? You have to learn the program first, then learn music theory, then learn beat making. So everybody wants to skip the steps, but there's a reason I teach this way. If you go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio, I'll get you started with a free FL Studio course. Just go to busyworksbeats.com. It's called the FL Studio 21 course. It's completely free. Once you learn from that, then you move into music theory, then you move into beat making. But if you don't learn your DAW, it's kind of like trying to learn how to win a race without learning how to drive the car. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Thank you, Mo West. Dante says, hello, I'm new to the channel. I'm a beginner at making beats. Thanks for showing tricks in FL Studio. Thank you for even being here. Do we really need more than one MIDI keyboard to make good music? No. I'd recommend the FL Key 37 if you guys are using FL Studio. It's called the FL Key 37. It's on the floor right now because my son just plays with it down there, but it's called the FL Key 37. That's the one I use more than my native instruments, more than my Arturia. So that's the one. Good morning. Where are you at? The morning time, let me think. 12 a.m. That has to be like UK time, maybe. The end of music, that's what I think while listening to him. He uses any and every... What? The end of music, that's what I think while listening to him. He uses any and everything he can in his songs. Who's he? Can you make tutorials for beginners step by step? I do have a lot of them. for this live stream, step by step will just bore everybody to death. So I like to separate the step by step stuff out into different YouTube tutorials so that it's not boring people who want to take it to the next level for them. But yeah, I do like to break stuff down as much as I can without it taking 5 hours though. But some stuff does take 5 hours to break down. So that's why I have my courses at busyworksbeats.com. LinkedIn spoke to him. Who's him? Oh, Clint Music. Okay. Okay, so if you spoke to Clint Music, that's the best referral I can give for Film and Sync, because it's not like this career where you can just sign up and start today. It's just not like that. You got to kind of work your brand. You got to know the point people. You got to have a relationship with the point people. You have to be good. You know, there's a lot of steps involved. It's not like cut and dry. Like Chambers, do we really need to have more than one MIDI controller for good music? Shout out to Young Chambers. I don't think so. MIDI controller? No, I think MIDI is just a way to express your melodies. I don't think you need more than one. Just get one with decent weighted keys. If anything, like, I mean, one thing I did learn, I'll say it this way, is that on my machine, I figured out why beats from the like 1990s sounded the way they did. It's because it has 16 velocity layers. So if you don't know about velocity layers, you know, the less you have, the less, let's say this again. Less velocity layers means less quality of sound. It sounds thin. So if I have a piano and I sample it with just one velocity layer, everything just sounds the same. It sounds thin. If I sample my piano at 16 velocity layers, if I hit it soft, a little harder, medium, you know, loud, super loud, now I have all these different articulations per how hard I hit the keys, and you get a different tone and more accuracy. So when it comes to velocity layers, it's the same exact thing for drums as well. I didn't realize this until I started messing with my machine. So the machine has a 16 velocity layer sensitivity on the drum pad, and that's what gives, you know, J Beats, J Black, you know, that MPC sound, that finger drumming sound. That's what gives Av McCree that sound. It's because it's 16 levels, 16 velocity layers, and that's why their drums sound way more dynamic. Whereas nowadays we're using MIDI controllers that have like 4 velocity layers, which is not the same. So you're gonna get 4 times less the dynamic. So that's what I learned recently about the MIDI controller thing. We're doing a little quick Q&A. I guess no questions is dumb. I guess the reason people kind of come to BusyWorks Beats is because I don't turn people away. It could be the craziest question in the world, but I make sure that at least I try to figure out what they're trying to ask. Let me play a beat real quick as I get some water here.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Fredo, you're my older brother, and I love you. But don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again.
They say family business is family business, and that's the gospel, but what do you do when your family becomes hostile?
All right, my bad. The amount of water I would have to drink right now would be insane, but we're gonna deal with the raspy tone. I know it's annoying. What makes Travis unique? Travis Scott. Let's get into Travis Scott sound real quick. So, well, what makes him unique is, I mean, think about Travis Scott for a second. He's more than Travis Scott. He dates or dated Kylie Jenner, who's one of the world's most popular people in the world. So there's that. You know, it's way bigger than music at that point. Firstly, Kanye West, the same thing. He dated Kim Kardashian, one of the most popular people in the entire world. So we need to start with the fact that there's stuff outside of just like the music that makes them as big as they are. Now, when it comes to his tone, you want to think F minor keys. This is where my plugin Hercules is perfect because I've already figured this out for you guys. So if you go to my plugin called Hercules at busyworksbeats.com/Hercules, for example. This is my new plugin. Let me show you how simple it is to sound like Travis Scott. All right, so there's the link. Now we can go to, let's say, Travis probably would dig more into bells, but I'm going to start off with a basic sound right now, and then we'll change out the preset. So let's go to Dragon under Plux. This has 340 sounds. It's a VST plugin. It works in FL Studio, Ableton. It works PC, Mac. I haven't tested out the AU version though on Logic. So if you're on PC or Mac, make sure you go to Options, Manage your plugins. Whenever you're doing your plugin scan, make sure you turn off Verify plugins, or else FL will just act weird. So the trick to Travis Scott is the F minor or E minor scale. And his latest album, I think it was called Utopia, if I'm not mistaken. You can right click, go to piano, roll. And let's hit Alt P to pull up what's called the chord progression tool. Then we're gonna right click on this tab here. Let's go to edit. We're gonna right click on E or F. Now E minor is a it's the most depressing key there is. F minor is more of a rebellious key. Okay, and I teach this in my Music Theory Magic course at busyworksbeats.com/music theory magic. Okay, I go way more in depth about all this. Can I spell here? busyworksbeats.com/music theory magic. Okay, so that's where I teach the music theory. But let's right click. Let's go to edit. Let's go to E and let's go to natural minor. This is a depressing key. Let's actually try F minor. It's less depressing. And we're gonna hit generate. So right now, let's hit play. That's a little happy sounding, but for now we're gonna go to performance and we're gonna switch this up. Let's go to an arpeggio style. Somebody asked what makes Travis Scott unique. I'm going into like the theory and also the sound of Travis Scott. So at the end here, we can right click to add a passing chord. So I don't know what happened with the lengths here, but let's fix this. You can hit Alt, left click to make these longer. And now that we have the arpeggio out the way, now we need to get into the sound design of it all. So here's where we're gonna get crazy. Okay, so there's a new plugin called HyperChorus in FL Studio. This is basically built for the Travis Scott sound. It just adds that phasey, chorusy sound. Now also too, you can right click your tempo and half speed it. Now I still want to add more detail, so let's add the kilohertz stuff. So I like the bit crush. Again, it's one of my favorite things. We can right click. Let's send this to 40K as far as the sample rate, and then right click, make this 12-bit. So now we're getting a lesser quality sound. We're going to turn up the quality here of the conversion. So it does very little detail, but then we're going to move into something called the kilohertz reverser. This is really going to add that. Now, depending on how many notes, I would recommend just kind of like pulling this back depending on how many notes. So let's try this. It's too many notes, but also you could go to millisecond mode. This is going to add more of a texture than a delay. Has like a bubbly tone. Head Huncho, what up? Big fan, keep going. Thank you. And then from here we could add a a pitch shifter. And here you don't have to always pitch shift. We're gonna go up 12 semitones, which is an octave up. But you don't always have to go up in tone. You could also just turn up what's called the grain size, and this will mess with the actual sample chop. It adds like a stutter sound. You could also blend this in. So now let's go back and swap out the sound. So that sound is whatevs, but let's swap it out for some other stuff. Let's do Bloody Bells. Start here. Now again, here's before. Here's after. Do I have a free version of these plugins that I have? Not necessarily. I'm just not that guy to really like do that much research, I'm being honest with you. I think Sage Audio does a lot of like alternatives, and maybe as far as effects, that's the person I would know. But another thing about Travis Scott is that low frequency. Let's take out some of this arpeggio. It's kind of So again, here's before. Now my sounds already sound like Travis Scott, but I'm just showing you guys how to like get that sound that these guys are going for. So another thing you could do, let's say you take out all the top line, you could actually hit Alt P again and it will reharmonize for you guys. So if you generate, it will add stuff on top. So we can swap out the style. Let's make sure we hit Control A to select them all and do different styles. Let's try syncopation this time. That sounds terrible to me, so let's generate again. Remember, we're at half tempo, so we could turn that off. Now, Travis Scott sits around like 120, 135-ish. He's not really in the 140s, I've noticed. From what I remember. So tempo also plays a factor. We don't need hyperchorus because that does kind of eat up a lot of the sound, the dynamic. Let's turn the plugins back on. So again, here's before. Here's after. If you want a really crazy trick, open up another channel here. Let's add a reverb. And I need to add my Valhalla stuff in here, but I don't have. Actually, let's do this one. We're going to turn the mix level to 100%. We're going to send the sound as a duplicate over here by left clicking the up arrow at the bottom. And then we're going to run that reverb through halftime or gross beat, whatever you guys have. I'll show you guys through gross beat first. In gross beat, if you go to preset, go to momentary, go to half speed. Okay. Make sure you turn your trigger sync on 4 beats, post sync 4 beats. So now we're sending a duplicate of the sound through a reverb, and then that reverb is being slowed down, so it creates this really dark layer. Now I'd recommend probably higher octaves for this. So I'll turn off the main outputs. This is what it's adding. So again, the higher up you are, when half speed happens, it lowers the octave. What up, Unknown AP? Thank you. So that's what we're adding to the sound, and then we have the sound itself. Thank you. Produced by, is it Baco or Baco? So that's how they get those quirky sounds from Travis Scott. And then again, you could just swap out the sound for whatever you guys want. So Prometheus is one of my favorite pads. Again, here's before. Actually, we're a little too high up in octave. And that's a sound that you just can't get with like basic plugins. So again, it's free. Kilohertz stuff is fire. I would highly recommend it. So that's that. And they also use a lot of resonance bass. That's like the new thing. Did I teach y'all something? Let me know. All right. I feel like you are getting bored. What else is there to teach y'all? What else is there? What problems do y'all have in your productions or mix? Sounds like old Timbaland. That's funny. Timbaland was one to do a lot of sound stuff, sound design type stuff. Or really, he had sound designers like Sound Oracle who was sound designing for him. And Sound Oracle is very thorough with the sound design. Okay, so you guys sent in your mix. We could do mixing stuff. We could do production. I guess you guys want to do mixing. So let's download this track. right, so right now we're just downloading you guys' multi-tracks. Hopefully you did it properly, and we'll learn more mixing stuff. So as you see, we go from mixing to production to mixing. It's all one big science. All right, so I'm letting that download. It's taking a little bit. Homebrew, I got your multi-tracks. These beats better be good, because if they're not good, it's gonna make me depressed while mixing them. All right, so we got 1 and then 2 tracks. Let's call this Discord. Let's make a folder here. Discord multi-tracks. Fix is kind of like let's say I make a beat and I'm like, hey, can you fix my beat? It's like, what do you want me to do to the beat? It's very unclear. Now, if you mean mix the beat to fix it, yeah, that makes sense. But if somebody said, hey, fix the creativity of my beat, it's like, what do you mean collab with you? You know what I mean? Like, it's not clear what people are. I need to know their intent, put it that way, where they're trying to go with it. All right, so give me a second here. I'm extracting you guys' multi-tracks now. Let's pray you guys did it right. This folder, okay. This is a virus, what the freak? That was weird. My current problem is some instruments sound quiet when others instruments play. It's called masking. Then they get louder when other instruments don't play. Yeah, they're masking each other. Thinking that has to do with compression. That too. It could be compression, but it's mostly masking. Doozy is here. What up? Dang, where are y'all at? Towards morning time. All right, so let's mix. He has a lot more multi-tracks. Let's see what this is all about. So you guys didn't label the multi-tracks. So I don't know who is who. So whoever's beat this is you. First thing we do when we're mixing. First thing I like to do when I'm mixing tracks is I need to delete the tracks that are Let's say that again. The first thing I do when I'm mixing somebody else's music is I figure out the tracks that are compilations of everything else. So right now we need to delete the master. We're not using that, and delete current. So in FL Studio, it creates a current and a master. I don't know why, but it just does. So we need to delete any duplicates so that we're not triggering ourselves. Like you said earlier, I need to learn more about the program I'm using and then music theory. I gotcha. Oh, the UK, it's 5 a.m. Can someone do beat lessons for me? We got a Discord. Let's see, is anybody live in our Discord? Let me see. Oh yeah, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people you can watch right now live in our Discord. Here's the link, by the way. I'm not as active in the chat, but I'm always here learning. Dope. We're about to get into it. I just needed to slow down a little bit. What up, WAP? So first thing I do, or second thing I do, is I go to my channel rack, switch this to audio, which is what we're mixing. Double click, hit Control L, send this to the mixer. So now everything is separated into its own mixer channel. And the first thing I like to do is, most of the time, also I need to delete the current and the master here. I forgot to do a shortcut because I was talking too much. But anyhow, now that they're in the mixer, I'll listen to it and ask, do I need to turn stuff down? Please get BusyWorks Beats. Black Box learned a lot. Thank you. Produced by Dev. I'm going to screenshot that one. I want to add new courses. I just don't know what people want to learn. So depends on what you guys want to learn. Yeah, we try to be as widespread as we can. Looking for new content creators as well. So if you guys know any content creators that you would like to see team up with me, we're looking to expand. Okay, so now we have everything. Let's get a gist of what he's trying to do. We have two clashing things here. These leads are clashing, so I don't know what lead 2 is versus lead 1. Now, I'm going to have a producer's ear first before I go into my engineering bag. So right now, these two are dissonant because they're trying to fight for the same frequency. So because they're trying to fight for that same music space, I'm going to pan one hard left and pan one hard right and see if that helps. Because sometimes sounds trying to fight for the same space become dissonant because they're too close. Think about a chord. You could play, you know, FAC, which is F major, or you could play FAC and then F. Well, it wouldn't be that dissonant. Just figure, you know, like FAC. You can make a dissonant chord basically with no chord voicing, or you could move that note that's dissonant up an octave and it won't sound as dissonant. So what I'm trying to say here is that when you separate sounds, they're not perceived as dissonant as much. So simply separating these two, we're not perceiving it as a huge clash, whereas before everything was clashing. So this works a little bit better. So instead of like adding plugins, I just need to move those two things away from each other. They're too dissonant. They're fighting for the same space. Whoa, this thing is 17 keys in it. Something goes like, I think it's this. Okay, so musically speaking though, you know, outside of just mixing, who would I ask for help? I downloaded FL Studio. I like distorted 808 type beats, but I don't know the mechanics. So do you know who has time and the patience to do distorted 808 type beats? I have a trap series. I don't know if that'll help with what you're trying to do, because I don't know if that's a subgenre or what. But if you go to busyworksbeats.com, go to my free courses tab. I have a series called the Trap Series that might help what you're trying to do. But who knows? I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to do. So this boo boo boo. This song has like 55 keys in it. What I would honestly tell this person is to go back to the drawing board and fix the musicality. This literally has 3 keys in it. If I mute the notes, it'll sound more normal. I like the texture, but the notes are way out of key. So we just did all that just to find out we're not going to mix this. I'm not going to mix it because here's what I'll do. Instead of wasting an entire session like this, I'll show you how to mix each individual sound, because this song is way out of key. Not that I expected it to be in key, but okay, so this 808 to me is more of a bass than an 808. And the weird thing is it's panned to the left. So what I would recommend doing is pulling this more mono. Also, the sound itself is just not the greatest sound in the world. But if I had to fix it, the lows are way too heavy. And then also the highs are too many upper harmonics. So that's what I would do to tighten up the sound. So here's before. Actually, here's before. And then here's after. A lot more controlled. Okay, so that's what I would do there. Now, stacking in 808 with the bass, you gotta be careful with this, because the bass and the 808 are clashing. A more advanced way to do this is to set up a Pro Q3. You can go to your 808 and right-click sidechain to this track. We're gonna go to Pro Q3. Thank you, Kung Fu Jiu-Jitsu Flip Trick. Appreciate you for doing that. Then go to your settings here. Go to your plugin wrapper settings. Go to processing. Right-click your sidechain input. Make that the 808. And then now we need to figure out where these clash. So at the bottom here, we could turn on what's called collision mode on Pro Q3. It will show us visually where these two are clashing, which is right around here. So they clash right here. So let's pull this down in dynamic mode, turn on the auto mode, turn this little thing on, and now it will, every time that 808 hits, it will turn the bass down in this area. Now I like to set my dynamic range to increments of 3, so I'm either pulling the sound down -3 or -6, some increment of 3. So now they can live together without clashing as much. Even though I wouldn't stack these sounds like that though. So that we're not high passing the sound and losing its identity. My FL's not updating to 24. Any suggestions? Nothing seems to work. Are you going to their website? image-line.com. It should, I don't know. Oh, you know what? You might be using the wrong version of FL Studio. FL Studio 2024 is a whole new app. So you shouldn't be using the same app opening it up as FL24. You might have to, if you did install it from here, you actually have to go search for the new app. So like right here, it's called FL Studio 2024. It's not FL Studio 21. It's FL Studio 2024. So that's probably what's happening. That's a big lie. They said they're experiencing high traffic. That is not why. Sign in, FL Studio unlocking, and other features might be affected. It's because Microsoft went down. Why are they saying it's high traffic? That is cap. So, a lot of this mix is because the production's not right. Like, it starts with the production. Broken Boy Astro is here. What up? So right now this snare has way too much width on it, too much side information, so it feels kind of flimsy. So let's pull it into mono. Let's mix stuff that's not out of key. So the beat, hold on. I really wouldn't do much to the beat outside of turn the kick down a little bit. I'll probably shape this kick differently. I don't like the tone of it. That's what they say. Oh, the sight's down. Right, yeah, sure. Sight's down. Yeah, cool. Yeah, okay. Sight's down. Yeah, okay. Microsoft just got hit today along with a ton of banks, and they're telling me the site is magically down on image-line.com from traffic. They couldn't even sell out their other stuff. It's talking about traffic. That is so cap. First time catching the stream. Are these Discord submissions or are they from your site? This is Discord. I'm trying to mix this guy's stuff, but a lot of it is just not a good production, and it's really affecting my brain to where I'm like, do I even want to mix this? I'm sorry, the guy, but this is not well done. All right, so what we're gonna do here is reshape the tone of the kick, and we can see there's a lot of energy here in the kick around 60 hertz. We're gonna pull this down. I like increments of 2 when it comes to like low end. I don't like to go too low. Go down to -1. Sounds are giving me a headache. He might be responsible for me ending the stream soon. I've never felt a headache while messing with music before. Dog, you're inciting a headache in my brain. Here's before. Here's after my tone shaping. Then we're gonna run this through a fruity wave shaper into a soft clipper of some sort. It could be these pan sounds giving me a headache. Bruh. I don't know if he's put me in a certain binaural beats, but dog is effing my brain waves up. All right, so now we got fruity wave shaper. We're gonna turn up the concave curvature here. Turn up that preamp. So now we're getting the kick, the knock a little bit more. We still need low end, so let's use Spectre here. And then boost up around 60. Yeah, I don't know what it is about the sound, but something about it is making my head hurt. Let's boost up around 60 hertz. 60, 75 hertz is like where I've never felt that with music. That's so crazy. I mean, I probably have, but not. First time catching a stream. Are these? Oh, I already said that. Answered that one. So now that we've boosted, we can pull back some of the post of the Fruity Wave Shaper. So let's do before and after. Here's before. Very like, and then like high end. Here's after our mix. A little bit crunchier. Let's take off some of this EQ. It just, this, we would have to shave off a lot of the high end of this kick to kind of change it. And then we need a soft clipper to really pull out the tone. Even my ear, I would go to the kick and pitch this down. I feel like the kick's not low enough. But this is where my producer ear comes into play. But personally, I want to pitch this kick down. We need to, here's a quick tip, go to Tools, Macro, switch all audio clips to stretch mode, so that when I mess with the tempo, it doesn't mess everything up. Then I could double click and turn the pitch down. So let's pull this down about 100 cents. It needs more lower frequencies. But not so low to where we lose the knock. Also, we don't want to transform the waveform that much. It just needs like more sub. You know, if anything, I would add the knock plugin to add that like sub layer. I don't think I have knock on here. I don't have it on my Mac, not this. But yeah, knock would be one where it creates a subtone every time the kick hits. Creates an automatic subtone. To do it in FL requires too many steps and it won't sound that great. But you're gonna have to layer that kick with something. It's too thin. Sometimes I record from my keyboards and audio. Yeah. This is somebody else's beat. I just want y'all to, I don't want this tied to myself. This is giving me such a headache. I don't even know if I can continue with this mixing. I'm so sorry to say it. Let's try somebody else's beat. So that's that. That's what I could pull out of that session. Not much to teach y'all there. I know that was kind of not what y'all were probably expecting. Let's try the other beat. I know he spent a lot of time doing that, so I'm not trying to throw shade. It was just giving me a headache. All right, so let's see what this guy has. So let's turn off the master. All right, so it's 88 BPM. All right, this I can deal with. The other beat was just giving me a headache. I'm so sorry. This one probably just like 16 bars, maybe 24 bars. He's probably gonna arrange it on his own. So first thing, again, we're gonna send everything to the mixer, Control L. And I have to ask, oh, you know what? I forgot we had this mixer. Dang, hold up. Let's do this again. First thing I do is I look for the master or the reference track. I delete it. and I'll send everything to the mixer. Double click, Control L. How many people we got here? 30 people. That last beat was like hurting people. I'm telling you, they can't deal with bad music. So sorry. Kung Fu. We lost our audience doing that. The Threat is here. Stoonie is here, produced by Dev96. Broken Astro. I wish I can send you my beat sample, but the synth sawer locked, so I only got the patterns. I'm buying the sawer. You could record it into Edison and then do it that way. But I have a video called like how to bypass the trial limitations or something like that, FL Studio. I will show you some workarounds. Cool. All right, so for this track, we're gonna move a lot quicker. Okay, first thing, send everything to the mixer. Song mode. We have to ask what are the most important elements. In this case, it's gonna be the bass, kick, and clap. That bass, we're just gonna, instead of turning everything up in the mixer, which most people do, we're gonna go to the track itself and turn it up because we want the volume going into our plugin chain louder, not after everything. So the fader in the mixer is after everything, then it turns the volume up. We want the volume going into everything turned up. So we need to go to the clip gain here, turn it up. Most of the time it's just wrong leveling. So let's turn this kick up. You wanna push it until you get like a knock. If not, you're gonna have to run it through a lot more processing. So this guy really made a dope beat. Let's figure out. So everything seems, so here's a mistake I used to make. I would just turn everything up loud, mix it. It'd be super saturated and filled out, but it would have zero dynamic in the track. So I had to learn, like, turn stuff down first and then slowly start turning up the stuff that you want to be the thing that's focused on, the focal point. Because if you turn everything up, you're basically not leaving enough dynamic range, and your mix will just sound like a flat line. It doesn't matter how well you mixed it, it will just sound flat. So this is how you make it less flat, is you let the peaks of your beat be the peaks of the beat and everything else not be the peaks of the beat. So this doesn't really need mixing outside of just maybe a little touch on the clap. It's just levels, really. Let's do, so the clap is a little low end. It's probably right here, is what I'm hearing. Let's just turn that down a little bit. It's hard to hear this. So again, he picked dope sounds, everything sounds fire. Only thing I can really do to this is look at the bass and add a little more harmonic to let that bass sing a little bit more. Sometimes you don't need saturators, we could just use a compressor. Some compressors we could use are the Blueface 1176, Fast Attack, Fast Release. And just crank that input, you can hear it buzzing now. Because we're adding harmonics to it. I'm gonna pull back the attack so it doesn't eat the bass alive. So here's before, very subtle change, but listen for it. Now that bass is like standing out a little bit more. And for those who want a level match, let's see where we're at beforehand. Oh, you know what, another plugin I need, Decibel. I don't have it on here, do I? Dang. All right, so let's kind of eyeball where we're at with the peaks. We're at about -9 without the compressor, and then with. We're -8, so we're only 1 dB louder, technically, but it sounds much louder. And to adjust the volume, I'm gonna run it through FabFilter. Just for the gain knob here, we're gonna do -1 so that we're making sure the before and after are the same. So again, here's before, same volume, technically. And then here's after. Now it is a little squashed, but I only use audio when I'm like recording from my keyboards. Rarely do I mess with audio because it just takes a lot of time. Plus I like MIDI because you can go back and change stuff quickly, whereas audio you can't. Okay, so that was one thing. So now we just need to re-level the bass so it's not like screaming over everything. Now that it's louder, we could turn the actual nominal volume down technically, because we're ultimately going to make it louder in the end. I like to boost up at 60 and 75 hertz for my kicks. So let's figure out which one is closer. Let's do 60 hertz. This is the magic of vibrating a car. 60 hertz and 75 hertz. So I'm going to boost at 60. Seems like most of the kick lives here. We could also do 75, but let's try 60 first. So let's do it before and after. It's hard to like pinpoint it, but let's solo the kick for now. This is hard. Here's after. Really not much difference. It's just subtly rounded out. It's just so subtle. You probably hear more on subwoofers. Now what we're gonna do is let the kick and the bass play at the same time, but we're gonna right click sidechain to this track. Go to our bass track. Load up FabFilter Pro Q3. And I'm gonna go to these settings here. Processing, right click, select your kick as the sidechain input. So now we're gonna see where they collide is right about here. You can kind of visually see where the kick and the bass line up. And then go to the dynamic tool, turn it on auto, and turn this up arrow thing on. And then now every time the kick hits, it will lower the volume of the bass in this area so that they can play at the same time without clashing, basically. I like increments of 3. Now for this vibe and dynamic, I expanded the dynamic range of that compressor to 6 decibels. So that way it's a little push-pull effect going on. Game, when are you gonna remake the old BusyWorks Beats intro? That was funny because that was stock music. That was some random like Camtasia music. I have both FL and FL Mobile. The beats I have on YouTube, I made mostly from the mobile app. That's tough. It's hard to make beats on mobile, so you got a lane. So firstly, now I'm going to look at the bigger picture. So everything seems to be sitting right. Now I'm going to say, what can I do to the entire picture, not just individual sounds? If anything, the keys could be a little wider. So let's widen just some elements. So when it comes to width, I don't like widening everything all at once. Let's open up Ozone Imager. Again, mine isn't active. So here's a free plugin called Ozone Imager. It's free. Let's try this one. So it's kind of hard to see, but let's turn this up. So now we're just boosting some of the side information. Now I'm listening to only the instruments, because there might be stuff I overlook. I got the Discord where I'm sending this beat to mix. This is probably gonna be our last one because honestly I'm tired. That last beat that we did made me so dissonant in my brain that it was starting to affect my mood. Songly is here. Joshua Pate, thank you for being here. But yeah, we'll try to do this again. Hopefully the beats are good though. Kung Fu says that's it. You convinced me to get FabFilter. Oh man, yeah, I can't even deal with the stock plugins comparatively. Now Fruity Limiter is good sometimes for more like house stuff. But for more frequency based stuff, also I don't know about Track Spacer, but people talk about it. I don't know if it's frequency based or not. Do you recommend the stock stereo enhancer plugin? Nope. I recommend Isotope stuff. I know it does kind of have that vibe. His bass is harder than mine. So now I'm listening to this little wah sound. I could add reverb, but it's like so subtle that it wouldn't make too much of a difference. So now I need to make the kick. So I'm going to combine the drums here. Now this is where we get into more creative mixing, because I think the levels could just be turned up and you have your final beat just like that. But what I'll do for the sake of seeing where I could take it is find all our drums, group them, find the clap, shaker, the hi-hat, and route them to this track called drums. Right click, route to this track only. You could also highlight these, hit Alt right, and then move those to the right. That way they're like separated. And then move these slowly back. So now the drums on the right here, visually speaking. Now everything's kind of visually separated. This kick is a little bright for my ear, but let's just see what it would sound like if I use a high shelf and then shave off a lot of the highs above about like 500 hertz. It makes the kick a little bit darker though. And what we'll do in the drum bus is start to add saturation and group this together. My fader keeps jumping up when I press the play. How to reset? My fader keeps jumping up when I press play. My fader? Oh. You got to right click and turn off delete initial value, or right click, go to edit events. And if it has any events, hit Control A and delete, or right click and that should be it. Or go to your browser, go to where it says current projects, go to where it says patterns, and you'll see something that says initialize controls. You can right click and delete anything that you don't want initialized. But in FL Studio 2024, they've made a button right here. It says delete initial value. So hopefully I'll learn how to mix my 808s with my bass leads. I can't seem to get them right. Bass leads with 808s. Oh, I see. You said bass leads. So yeah, that FabFilter trick that I showed you, you can combine two bass things. So now the drums are locked in. Here's where we're gonna add our own vibe to it. I'm gonna try my own MPC 60 type sound. Let's right click, 40K. Make it 12-bit. Turn the quality up. And now we're gonna run it through Fruity Wave Shaper for more knock. Let's do the cog icon, turn the mix level to about 50%. Crank that preamp up, make it more concave like this. So now those drums are like sticking out the speaker now. So here's before. Now the cool thing is, because we grouped everything, we can hit, I believe it's Alt. If you hit Alt and left click, it will solo the group tracks. So here's before we mix the drums. Here's after. Let's also make sure we're not just cranking it up in volume. So before, here's before. We're at negative 4-ish. Here's after. We're at about -1, so let's pull this back. It just took off a little high end. So it's very subtle, the difference. But cranking it up a little bit does help, just the gain. Now let's get into the bigger picture, I'll say the master. But as you guys can hear, I started boosting everything, so now everything is loud, but now we don't have that dynamic anymore. So now we need to start figuring out what can we turn down to create that dynamic. Here's where we're going to use a multi-band compressor. And you could either boost the kick or the snare most of the time. So let's find the snare range, which is right about here. Instead of compressing it, we're going to expand this 1 dB or 2 dB. So now every time this clap hits, it turns up the volume of the clap. You do the same thing with the kick, but we don't really need the volume to go up. I'll show you guys what it sounds like though. There's a plugin called Spiff that does that a lot better with micro resonances. I don't have it on this computer. But that's how you make your song less flat, is using expansion. Now let's just get into, let me see what else we have here. Let's add a limiter. Let's get these levels up. Turn the look ahead on. So I'm trying not to compress more than 3 dB. Right now we're at 3.4, so let's pull this back a little bit. So let's do a before and after of everything that we've done. Let's see here. So here's before, oops. Here's before everything. Now again, the beat was dope before I even touched it, so it's already fire. So here's before. Here's after. There's a little, let's work on the side image, just a little too much frequency on the side. So now let's sweep the sides to figure out what information is on the side. So for a cleaner mix, we could cut around like 100 to about 400 hertz on the side for this specific track. Let's do it in 3 dB increments. It's gonna tighten up the image a little bit. Make it less, I'll say muddy on the side. And then lastly, we're gonna end with an EQ. With the limiter. Now, one thing I want to see is what happens to the kick without my EQ. So here's the original kick. It's a little bright though. So I just had to tone shape that kick. So lastly, just the limiter to capture any peaks. We're not using it to boost the volume here. What up, Jeezy? So again, here's before. What up, Draco? Can control playhead thing that's moving to the side. Control the playhead thing that moves. If your playhead is just like going everywhere, it's just glitching, that's a problem with the FLP. But if you want to control, you can click on this black bar to move it around. And also if you want it to like auto scroll, click this little button up here, it's a little arrow, it will auto scroll for you. I'm sure there's more shortcuts, but okay, let's turn the mixing on here. Stuff, I would probably put a little more high mids in this. Thank you, Mayo. Somewhere around like right here somewhere. Just kind of filling in that dead speak frequency, but again, the vocal would need to sit there too. So we don't want to overly do that. So that's how you mix beats. That beat was just fire to begin with. Now, the last couple things I would do is worry about the dynamic, maybe compress it a little bit more to have that push-pull. Like the West Coast was very heavily compressing their sound. I'm going to exaggerate this, so it's not going to sound the best. But they were purposely, like every time the kick would hit, it would turn everything down and then go back up. And that just created a lot of their dancier tracks. So don't be afraid to use compression, but tricky part is like how much though. So now it's that subtle head bob. So again, let's do it before and after. I had some vocals, I wish I had the energy. Beat is dope though. I feel like the lows are a little aggressive in the mid. Probably shave those down a little bit more. This is a heartbeat. So because my bladder's full and I'm tired and it's been a long day, we're gonna get out of here. But I appreciate everybody for being here though. You know, you guys have been steady, supportive. So I'm gonna do something this weekend to give you guys something. So if you want that something for free, I don't even know what I'm gonna create yet. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. And when you hop on my email list, I'll email everybody on my email list. Whatever it is, I don't even have an idea yet what I'm going to create for you guys, but you guys have been so loyal. I owe you. So I'm going to get out of here and live life. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Peace.